I'll welcome you to where I find my ships, where I try to help you learn a little bit more about some of the base ships in Starfield, and most importantly, some methods on how to get them. And today, we're going to be looking at the vessel that has the highest damage output in all of Starfield. It's none other than the Ecliptic Claymore III. Often considered a general use ship, but for me, given the weapons on it, I would call this a destroyer class or a cruiser class, as it packs a whopping punch, but will also need support given its weapon selection. That's why it's a perfect ship when it has support from the Ecliptic Cutlass, Okada, Soleto, and you get the picture. It's a hard-hitting, reasonably fast, decently hulled ship. Belongs to the Ecliptic faction. Going to be one of the most common ships you'll probably find landing on planets other than those shitty class A ships. It's very common. It's trickier to get the Mark III, and we'll go into how to get that soon. But what makes the Ecliptic Claymore Mark III so scary? Well, it has the highest damage output in all of Starfield, coming in at 478. The reason for such a high damage output is it comes with the Particle Obliterator 250M and the CE-59 missile launcher. Let's take a look at these weapons. It's one of the highlights to the Ecliptic Claymore Mark III. And we'll start off with the Obliterator 250 MEV Alpha Turret. This is an auto turret. It's a particle weapon. It means it has superb range and very intense hull damage and shield damage. Obliterator will require Starship Design Rank 4. It is also the second most expensive particle weapon you can attach to your ship with a level unlock of 60. We're looking at one of the best particle weapons you can attach to your ship. The only downside is that you can only put 3 of these on your vessel because it does require a power of 4. So you only have 12 bars. So if you wanted to put max power, you can only put 3 of these bad boys on. That's still very good because they are crazy strong, and they pack a punch. You can put this on very hard. You'll still see that health bar go down quite quickly with these. Now, the Obliterator 250 MEV auto turret also has one of the highest shield and hull DPS. The other really extreme factor, which is really cool and why it's so expensive, is that the Obliterator 250 Alpha turret has the most highest shield and hull damage per second rate at 129. Which is really crazy. So that's 129 damage per second these bad boys can punch out. The second weapon the Claymore Mark III has is the CE-59 missile launcher. The CE-59 is the second most expensive missile launcher you can purchase. Starship Design Rank 3. It costs 25,200 credit. It has a level unlock of 49. And one of the cool things you can do with the CE-59 that you can attach 4 of them to your ship because they only require a power of 3. So you can put on 4, which is what I like to do. Give it a combined shield and hull damage of 612. In missile launchers, they have fantastic range at 4,000, and it's just a neat little package that is devastating. You get 4 of the CE-59 and you start launching at ships. It's going to be super quick because of that high hull and shield damage. It's just brutal. Now, let's take a look at some of the other components and factors with the Claymore Mark III. So we'll start off with the engines. So the Claymore Mark III has 4 engines in total, and it's equipped with 2 of the worst engines in the whole game, which is the Wight Dwarf 1000 engine, the 3,500 credits, and we won't spend any more time on that because it's just one of the basic starter engines that you can get. But it is interesting that they've included this. You could upgrade this to give more maneuverability and probably a better top speed as well. But I do like how they have designed the double engine. It's cool that you have one big main engine and then a little side engine. I do like that. It's pretty cool. More unique to the Claymore. The main engine is the Supernova 2200, one of the top 10 engines you can get in the game. It has a level unlock of 57. It requires Starship Design Rank 4. Cool thing about the Supernova is that you can attach 4 of them to your ship, which would give a combined thrust of 103,000 roughly, which is the 3rd highest potential thrust for pretty much all of Starfield. Now, it's not cheap. It's 42,000 per engine, but it has a really slick design. Feeding over to the reactor. Claymore Mark III has the Fuser DC-403 reactor. This is a weapon of a reactor. It's a rank 4 Starship Design. Obviously, you need your piloting rank 4. It generates 38 power. It has a repair rate of 5.75 with a health of 115. 3rd most expensive reactor in all the game at 77,300 credits with a level unlock of 49. This is one of the top 5 reactors you can get in the game, which allows for a lot of weapon upgrades and potential things you can do with the Claymore Mark III. Moving on to the grav drive, we've got the Apollo GV300. It requires Starship Design Rank 4, pretty much the second best grav drive you can get in Starfield. has a max power of 11, a jump thrust of 50, a health of 288, and a huge price tag of 105,000 with a level unlock of 52. This will give you a jump range of 30. So again, a really good grav drive to start off with. Don't ever need to upgrade this thing. In fact, in some situations, you might even want to downgrade, but it's top of the class. Next, we have the shield, which is the Assurance SG-3000 shield generator. This is a Starship design of rank 3 with a level unlock of 49. Definitely not a bad shield. It has a health of 1,190. It's a 10 bar shield, has the regeneration rate of 5% and a value of 45,200. So it's still a top 10 shield. Very good overall. You're going to be pretty well protected in your Claymore. The other cool thing about the Claymore is that they're pretty much built entirely out of Nova Galactic hubs and parts. It's got that famous Carbot C4 bridge. Really love the look of this. The downside to the Ecliptic Claymore 3 is it has a terrible fuel range at 420. So we've gone over all the ship parts. We've had a good little look. Now let's go into how to get the Claymore Mark 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to be only focusing on the Mark 3, but just note that this method will be very much applicable to the Mark 1 and 2, so you can use the same process to get the lower versions. However, the Mark 1 and 2 are going to be very common, so you'll find them pretty much anywhere on any moon and most planets. I'll give you some indication on levels so you know when you'll get these ships spawning. To see the Mark 3 for the Claymore, well, I'm going to say is probably 50 to 60 plus, and then you're probably looking at 20 to say 50 for the Mark 2, and you should see the Mark 1 from the get-go. These are just some very rough level indicators. You would definitely see it before these levels mentioned, but it can be rare. You'll start seeing the Mark 3 of ships the higher the level you are, and they will become more and more common. So we're going to go through getting the Claymore in orbit and on ground. So now we're going to go through exactly what you'll need for both those scenarios. So the perks we're going to need: capture the Claymore Mark 3. We're going to need the piloting, rank 4 to pilot Class C ships. We'll also need targeting control systems, at least rank 1, so we can target the grav drive and engine, take those out so we can dock and take the ship by force. Recommendation is to have this as high level as possible to make this process easier. The other thing you're really going to need is ship parts. I suggest you bring a ton of ship parts depending on how you want to play this. I'll give you a couple of suggestions on how you can avoid using ship parts, or if you want to farm the XP, you can use your ship parts as you take damage. And for capturing the Claymore Mark 3 on the ground, we're only going to need piloting rank 4. We just need to be able to board and fight off the enemies and capture and pilot this ship. The Ecliptic Claymore 3 can be a little tricky, but also quite common. If you want to find it orbit, definitely check out Celebre. This is a good system to find them. That's one system. You'll pretty much find the Claymore Mark III in any of the 70 or above systems. So another good place is 4, Fermi, and you can definitely try Archimedes, Hawkins, and you could try Huygens. I should also mention the Masada system's really good to find Ecliptic Claymore ships in orbit and on ground. So definitely try these strategies in this system as well, as you will find that their home base is in Masada. Basically, all we're going to do is jump from system to system to system, and we're going to get engaged in a lot of battles. So I don't suggest doing it that way. The way I suggest doing it is making sure you have your settings. You want to go settings, gameplay. You can have any difficulty you want. I was chopping changing from very easy to hard. It seems to be consistent between all the difficulties, so I don't think that matters too much. You want to have save on travel. Quickest way to do this is we jump to a new planet or moon. We've got the autosave. And what happens, it tends to take about 30 seconds to a minute for the ships to arrive, just like now. Now you have two choices. You can destroy all these ships. You've got plenty of ship parts and you don't need to worry. You can kill these ships, get the XP. That's no worries. But if you don't want to engage in these battles, because it's going to take quite some time jumping between moons and planets, what I suggest you do is just load that last autosave. For me, it's this one. Okay, so now that we know that we're going to get attacked by Crimson ships, don't really want to engage in them because we're just looking for the Claymore Mark III. So we'll just jump to another moon in Celebre, and then we'll just keep doing this process until we run into the Claymore Mark III. This method is going to be the quickest because we avoid all the orbital battles. Now, I've been able to replicate this multiple times. It does take time. It took me about 45 minutes to get it twice. It may take you a lot longer. Depends on how you go with your random events. And if you're not having any luck in Celebrate, then try the Boar system or some of the other systems I mentioned. But you will find it. It just takes some time. Once you find it, you'll be able to dock with it. Very easy to take. There's not too many enemies. The only complication you may find is that when you run into a Claymore Mark III, there might be 2 or 3 other ships with it. So you want to target the other ships first, destroy those, then save your game so it's only you and the Claymore Mark III left, just in case you need to come back. And you can adjust the difficulty from very easy to very hard, depending on what you need. So you either don't kill it too quickly, also it doesn't kill you too quickly. And that way you should be able to get a Claymore Mark III in the orbit. Okay, so now we'll look at how to get the Ecliptic Claymore Mark III on the surface of moons or planets. Now keep in mind, you're only going to get the Mark III on surface once you're a high enough level. Could be looking at anywhere from 50, 60, 70 plus level, unless you get very lucky. The biggest issue that you're going to find getting the Claymore Mark III is that a lot of the time the ship's going to be inaccessible because they just tend to drop ecliptic troops down and then fly back into orbit, or they become dead vessels, means you cannot access them without using console commands. That's why it can be good to go to a system like Fermi, because it does seem to happen a lot less in the higher level systems, but it will still happen. But for finding it on the surface, we will head to Masada. It's a very good location to find ecliptic ships landing more frequently on the surfaces of moons. You can pretty much pick any moon in the Masada system and just use the save and reload trick until you get the Ecliptic Claymore Mark III. Now this may take some time because you may find an ecliptic and it may be inaccessible, but you then just need to travel to another moon, repeat the process of using the save and load till you find an Ecliptic Claymore Mark III that you can access. And once you do that, it'll be very easy to clear the ship. There's not too many troops on it. And the good thing is it's very cheap to register the Ecliptic Claymore. The good thing is about the Ecliptic Claymore III is that it's reasonably cheap to register. It's only like, say, 55,000 credits. Isn't too bad. Now, a couple of caveats to be able to actually get the Ecliptic Claymore Mark III is if you have the wanted trait, you're going to find more frequently that the Ecliptic Claymore ships are going to be bounty ships, which you can't take. It will take longer. The other caveat is if you have Starborn in orbit or landing, that's going to cause a lot of problems to your spawning, which will make this harder to do. But pretty much this is going to help you get an Ecliptic Claymore Mark III. I hope you got something out of it. Please like, subscribe, and all that jazz. Peace. Welcome to Where I Find My Ships. And today we are going to be looking at the legendary UC System Defense Chimera Mark III. This is one of the most challenging and difficult ships to take in all of Starfield. It's exceedingly rare, but it's also one of the most rewarding and funnest experience if you're looking for a challenge and taking this bad boy on very hard. The Chimera is one of UC's epic troop carriers, so it is stacked with probably the highest crew count of any ship in Starfield. I mean, the first door you open, you're greeted with a guy with a grenade launcher that will kill you in 2 shots. Next, you'll run into level 93 gun turrets on the top of the roofs. You'll get lost in the snake and ladders of this ship as it turns into a maze game, all condensed in this tiny but brutal Class C ship. So we're going to deep dive and we're going to look at where you might be able to find it, some of the tips that might help you find it easier, what happens when you board it and there's other UC ships around, what sort of challenges you might face once you're on board, what kind of components does this ship have, and how does it stack up against other ships. So let's ship off and get shipping. That was terrible. I wanted to start off by trying to find out how much we know about this ship already. Well, what was interesting is that going through pretty much the top 5 sites that list all the different ships of Starfield, I cannot find the Chimera on any of these lists, which is really interesting. So perhaps the Chimera does come under a different ship name or something. If you do know, let me know. But it's very odd that it's oftenly missed on a lot of different ship lists. Must be super rare. And again, I haven't come across it that often at all. Again, it's crazy because even going to the Starfield database of ships, I can't even find the Chimera. It must be under a different name or it's just been missed. So a bit of a mystery here. Let me know if you have any info on why this ship is missed on so many different lists on the internet. Okay, so to start us off, what are we going to need to be able to capture this brutal ship? We're going to need the Class C piloting license. We will also need the targeting control system rank 1 so we can lock and load and dock with this ship in space. Now, where did I find the Chimera Mark III? Found it in the Celebrate system. In particular, orbiting in a battle around Celebrate 4. Now, in honest, this is going to be super difficult to get or recreate. So it's going to be one of these wild cards that you're just going to get. But at least from watching this, you now know that it's a good ship to try experience. But what I can say about the Celebrate 4 is that I've never been to a more active orbiting planet. So I kept jumping to another system and coming straight back to Celebrate 4. And 7 out of the 8 times I had interactions with some other AI, whether it be ships fighting, traders passing by, some civilians asking for help. Like I got it all. It was Very fascinating. So it seems to be a highly active planet, so it is a good starting place. I was able to recreate getting multiple battles happening at Celebrate within a short period of time, but this is just where I found it. This will not work for everyone, but it's a good place to start again. And just a quick tip, if you are trying to do this and you're traveling back from system to Celebrate, once you get to Celebrate 4, make sure you just wait a little bit, because sometimes it takes a while for ships to spawn in, and it's one you can keep resetting, so it might be worth just trial and error. Some other important factors. I believe to get the Chimera III, you'll probably be needing to play this game on very hard, and I suspect that there'll probably be some sort of level requirement involved as well. And also note that at the time of this encounter, I had the wanted trait rank 2, so that may influence some of the ship spawns as well. I'm also currently level 95 and I'm on NG+, but I don't think NG+ should have anything to do with the spawn of this Chimera III. But yeah, it's all up in the air about how exactly the spawns work, so it's going to be a challenge. It might be just a random event for you, as it was for me, but at least you know now. Okie dokie, so let's get into the setup. So I did a blind jump to Celebrate, which spawns you at one of the main planets in Celebrate. Can't remember the name of it, but I heard a ship warping in. I didn't want to bother with it, so then I jumped straight to Celebrate 4, and as I loaded in, the game lagged a bit. So something to note, you might find the same thing. I have autosave on, so it autosaved on arriving in orbit to Celebrate 4, and I had a battle going on between some Ecliptic ships and some UC ships. Now, I had this setting on very hard, but I highly suggest once you find the Chimera III, you put the setting down to very easy, and that will make more sense in a minute. And what could be a good idea if you do want to do this on a higher difficulty, at least this ship part might be super easy for a lot of you depending on how your ship is set up, is you kind of just want to sit back and let the UC ships take much damage as they possibly can that won't impact the docking process. So that's one option. You can sit back, let them take a lot of the damage, and then swoop in. And I didn't even figure out that we had that Chimera III till after I'd finished that conversation where they offer you credits or ship components. And then I started looking around. I used my scanner to find all the ships easily. And then I noticed that there was a Chimera III here, which was a level 62. So it may go higher. I'm not too sure. But once I figured out I wanted to capture this ship, I just got in as close as possible, because you're in a bit of a tricky situation here depending how it's worked out for you. You could have 2 to 3 extra UC ships just hanging around, ready to attack you as soon as you engage in combat with the Chimera III. And that's why if you are having trouble getting to the point of docking, just make sure the difficulty is on very easy. So for me, I tried to get in as close as possible. Again, note my ship is a complete freight train. So for me, getting in close and trying to take down the engine as quick as possible was what I was aiming to do. Now the Chimera is quite fast, quite nimble, so it definitely got away from me quite quickly. I only have rank 1 targeting. My targeting is very average. This will be a lot easier for a lot of you. And if you've lowered the setting, again, it will make it an absolute for sure deal. But just be mindful, there are other UC ships generally in orbit with you at this time. So you do have to be mindful of that aspect. And finally got onto the engine and I was able to dock with it mid-combat while I was getting attacked by the other UC ships. Probably know this already, but as soon as you dock with a ship in this scenario, where there's no other combat going on, whether it be UC, Crimson, 3-star ships, they will all stop attacking you as soon as you dock with one of their own. So it's fair game to enter the ship and go wild. And what I suggest you do is, upon the docking process and you're on that screen where you can see both the ships, I suggest going into your settings now and changing the settings to very hard, so which should mean that once you get into the ship, you'll be on the very hard difficulty. This is completely optional, but it will increase your chances of getting some legendary drops. And it's also just an awesome fun challenge to give it a crack on very hard difficulty, if that's something that interests you. Otherwise, keep it on very easy, normal, whatever you want. Never tell anyone how to play the game. So for me in this, I wanted to play it on very hard. And what I found is the best approach for me was trying to do it much more stealthy, because otherwise going in guns blazing made it very challenging, which is also a lot of fun to try. But I really like trying to do the stealth at the moment, so I was mostly emphasized on that. Now, I won't go and show you the whole breakdown of going through the ship and killing all the enemies, but note, I'm pretty sure this ship has the highest crew number of any ship that I've ever encountered. You're probably looking anywhere from 30 to 40 crew members in total across this ship. So it's jam-packed. That would be including the turrets, of course. So it's a highly densely populated ship of madness that you're about to embark on. My quick tips are just using stealth using blend to slow down time or using your powers to slow down time. Having good legendary weapons will obviously make this very easy, but I'll let you figure that out. And I won't show too much of the boarding process, just so you can enjoy it for yourself. If you want to spoil too much, one thing you will find is that you will get lost on this ship. I certainly did quite a few times. 3 to 4 levels in total, many rooms that look similar, and it is a bit of a maze. But luckily, you'll end up in the cockpit. You'll be able to take out the captain and the officers and sit down in the chair with a huge success. So now let's look at some of the stats, some of the ship parts. How much was the bounty? How much was it to register? And then finally, we'll compare it to a couple other Mark III ships to see how it sort of stacks up against them, because it's kind of hard to find that information right now. Now you racked up a bounty taking the Chimera Mark III. You're looking at anywhere between 54 to say 60,000 credits. For me, it was 56,000 roughly. I only have commerce rank 1. So this is what will impact the differences. And then to register it, you're also looking at roughly the same price as a bounty. For me, it was about 56,000. Overall, you're looking at anywhere between 110 to 115,000 to get this ship registered and bounties cleared to make it yours. So that's actually not too bad when we start to look at the stats and where it sort of fits in with the other ships. So just having a high level look at the Chimera from a parts perspective, it's only got 2 or 3 parts that are ranked Starship design required. The rest fall under rank 3 and rank 2. But its strength is it's got a reactor with 38 power, which is definitely well worthwhile. It's got a very good grav drive. It's one of its high selling points for sure. A very reasonable shield. The engines are lacking, but they have a ton of thrust, so they get the job for a class 3 ship. And then I do kind of like the weapon system. It's got a very nice balance between a lot of hull damage, shield damage, and missile there to do a bit of both. So you're looking at quite a nice package ship here. But what will be interesting is where is this going to fit in terms of price compared to all the other ships? Is this going to be a top 10 ship? Let's have a look. And by sorting the ships by price, we're still looking at a possible top 10 ship. You can see that the Chimera Mark III is possibly in the top 10 ships of all Starfield. So that's pretty interesting. At least in terms of price from the value perspective. It is a Mark III, so it is the best version of itself. So it's probably going to slot in between the Vista II and the Ecliptic Claymore III. I know, I thought that was kind of interesting, and maybe this ship isn't as rare as I thought it is, or if it is, I'm still interested to know, so let me know what your thoughts are. But overall, I definitely recommend checking out the Chimera. Board it, have fun with it, you won't be disappointed. It's a top 10 ship that seems to be quite rare, at least for me. So with all that said, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. If you got anything out of this, please consider liking and subscribing. Peace. Welcome to another Where I Found My Ship, and today we've got something special. Finally been able to get my hands on a Vista II pretty reliably. The Vista ships are some of my favorite looking ships in the game. Don't know why, but I just love them. And I've been on the hunt to find Vistas reliably ever since I posted that first video of the Vista I. But now I can give much more confidence in giving this information, as I've been able to spawn the Vista II not just once, but 3 times within a 2.5 hour testing period. And what I'm hoping is that this is a sufficient amount of consistency that this could be possibly replicated for everyone, because I haven't come across a place that has produced Vistas so frequently. And I mean, I've spent hours, days even, trying to recreate getting that Vista I. And for whatever reason, I could not get Vistas to spawn, no matter how hard I tried. But I've started a new game, and there's a few other little tricks that I'm going to share with you, and hopefully this will give you a much better chance to get the Vista II for free as well. There's no bounties, even in the situation where you have to kill the crew. So we'll quickly get into what you're going to need, so the perks you're going to need to be able to get the Vista II. So you're going to need your piloting, rank 4, to pilot Class C ships. The last perk you're going to need is your security, rank 1, to open the hatch, which will be locked under an advanced lock. And since you're going to have to unlock the main hatch, you're going to need a digipick. So bring a couple with you. It's always good to have these on you. Now, another important step is I want you to put the difficulty on to very easy. I haven't done exhaustive testing on this, but at least in the last 2 hours, I've been on very easy. When switching to other difficulties, I had a different result. Not 100% sure if it means or does anything, but this is just what I've done. It seems counterintuitive, but maybe perhaps the algorithms are like, this guy's on very easy. Let's not give him anything too hard, so they just drop lots of UC ships. Not too sure, just a gamble, but this is what I did. So what's this awesome location that should hopefully yield a Vista II for you? Well, we're going to head over to the Serpentis system. And in particular, from my testing, what's yielded the best result is Serpentis 5D. I haven't checked all the planets or anything like this. This is a new game again, so I haven't been to all of them. And now what's really important to note, none of these finds were using the save and reload trick. You don't know what the save and reload trick is. Just when you land, the game auto saves. If you get a ship landing and you don't like it, you can just reload that auto save and a different ship should appear. And people can farm ships this way. But from my testing, it seems to be very difficult to get Vistas doing it this way. So all the Vistas I found were on original spawns. So I would land, the first ship that spawned was a Vista II in all 3 occasions. So that means doing the save and reload trick, from what I've tested, is not going to work for this ship. It seems to be on the first encounter only. Have I been able to generate it? Maybe other people have had much more luck or a different experience, but for me at least, that's what I'm going to base this off. Again, important to note, this is not a save and reload trick. This is get the Vista II on your first landing. Now, the other thing that's important to note is that all my findings were in craters. See over here how it says craters? All the landings, I was just landing in craters. I didn't do any testing on mountains or in the other regions to find the Vista II. What I would do is I would start with trying to spawn this only in craters. I wouldn't try frozen hills, mountains. So yeah, stick to craters. That's probably your best bet. Now looking at the resource locations, because apparently the resource locations are going to be the same for everyone. Now I still don't know how much that's going to impact the random generation of the surroundings, but at least this will give you a better idea. Very first Vista I spawned was landing right here. Now do note, that was the very first time I had touched down on the planet. For whatever reason, the first time you visit a planet always seems to generate the best chances of getting a good ship, at least in my experience. The second location I got a Vista II was over here. So you guys can clearly see. And then the third one was down here or something, or actually it's more like in the middle. This video is going to be longer than normal, but I want to give you enough information and walk you through what my experience was just to give you as much information, so hopefully it will help. Now, what was interesting is that all 3 encounters with the Vistas were all different. So the first one, on the very first time I landed on the planet, Vista II landed at a fracking station. So normally in instances like this, you would get a crew outside and they're looking for ship parts or something, but I didn't get any of that, or I didn't really stop to check or see, so I didn't really see the crew. I just had to unlock an advanced lock and then waltz right in. I also found 2 big bang guns, so that was a nice score, but it was a simple jump in the pilot seat and had no issues, and that was my first Vista claimed. I tell you what, I was so stoked because I've been looking for this ship for such a long time. It's been very annoying to try to get this to spawn. Okay, so what did I do after I got my first Vista? Well, I made it my home ship and I traveled to another planet in Serpentis, which was Serpentis 5b, and then I wanted to reset the spawning. So what did I do? I traveled to the closest system nearby, which is Nyra. Stopped in at Nyra, just whatever planet it was, and then talked to this Mrs. Whitemore. That was hella annoying. She spoke for ages. And then what I did, I just actually jumped straight back to Serpentis. I went straight to Serpentis 5D orbit again, and then I just landed over to the left here. So I landed, exited the ship, and then I looked up to the skies, the heavens, and I could not believe it. There was a second Vista. Now, what was unique about this one is that this one had a crew. I'll just show you a little bit of me running over just so you know it's legit. You can always tell it's a Vista because it's just massive. So as I approached the second Vista, couldn't see any crew that had landed. The door didn't need to be unlocked either, so you could walk straight onto it. And this actually had a crew. So it turned out to be one of those classic smuggler captains. So I spoke to the captain, and perhaps there's a better choice here, but I just said, yeah, I took the goods and then ended up just murdering the whole crew, which did rack up bounties. But in the end, it didn't actually give me one at all because I still don't have a bounty for this ship. So once I'd killed all the crew members, I went to try and enter the ship and I could not for the life of me get access to the ship. I even triple checked the whole ship, couldn't find anyone. I didn't even get cannot access. I got no messages, nothing. I just couldn't even get anything or any kind of reading from the captain's seat. So I don't know what happened with this one, but I was not able to claim this Vista. So if you do have that happen, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened here. If anyone knows why I couldn't enter this ship, please let me know in the comments. So what did I do after the second Vista that I ran into? So I ended up trying to jump around between systems, coming back, trying to repeat that initial process. I then was trying different moons. I tried the save and reload process, get it to trigger a third time. And I was really looking for that third time to give that more consistency. Offer this up to you guys. But I wasn't having any luck. I kept getting different ships. What didn't seem to be working. So what I did is I went back to Nira, saved the game, exited the game completely, opened the game up again, and then I went straight back to a new location on Serpentis 5D, and would you believe it? A third Vista. So between getting the second and third Vista, I did spend a lot of time trying to jump from system, and I couldn't get it. But I did get it after exiting and then loading back into the game. Don't know if that makes a difference, but it did for me. It seems to reset it a bit better. And then the Vista in this case, which landed very close to my other Vista. This one had the crew come out. They were probably looking for parts or something or selling something. So all you got to do is kill them. But now looking back, you don't actually have to kill them. I think you can just jump straight into the ship. I can't remember off the top of my head, but let me know if you remember in the comments. I did have to use a digipick and open a advanced security door. And then this one, I could just jump straight into the captain's chair and had no issues. So 2 out of 3 is not bad. And within 2.5 hours, I nearly had 3 Vistas, which is huge because I haven't had that kind of success at all. Now, do note, I'm level 90 in this. I'm on the NG plus 10. I have spaceship design level 4. And that's all I can really think that might influence your prospects of getting the Vista II. Now, I'm still struggling to find the exact answer on how much level impact ship spawns. From my testing, I was trying to get some Class C ships and I was level 20 and I wasn't having much luck on these other planets. So there might be something to that. It may be level locked. Then I hear plenty of comments of people getting Class C ships and they're under 20, under 30, under 40 levels. So it's a real mixed bag. I'm not sure if I can give you a definite answer on that just yet. And lastly, if you do want to register the Vista, it's sort of fluctuated between, I think it was like, I don't know, 55,000 to say 65,000, just registering it in my own inventory. So yeah, you're looking at about 55 to 65K to register the Vista if you want to modify it. Otherwise, it's completely free if you just want to fly it around. And with all that said, that should land you a Vista II. I'm looking for a Vista III. If you find one anywhere, please let me know in the comments. If you did get anything out of this, please consider liking, subscribing, supporting the channel, donating, whatever. Been really enjoying chatting with you all and dropping things in the comments. It's awesome. And yeah, thanks very much. And I hope you got something out of this. If you have any questions, chuck them in the comments. And peace till next time. I'll welcome you to where I find my ships, where I try to help you learn a little bit more about some of the base ships in Starfield, and most importantly, some methods on how to get them. And today, we're going to be looking at the Crossbow. I mean, Crimson Fleet Wight Mark III. Someone please explain to me why they called this ship Wight when it is a poo color. Don't know why they did that, but it's almost a meme. If you did not know, the Crossbow and the Wight and the Spacer Hyena Mark III are identical ships. The Crossbow you can purchase at majority of the technicians at level 38 for the Crossbow Mark II and level 72 for the Crossbow Mark III. Now, seeing how the Crossbow and the Crimson Wight are identical ships, we can interchange this guide between the two, as the only difference is that the Wight has a terrible poo brown color. It's grown on me, but I'm not a huge fan of the color. I much prefer the Crossbow look, and that's why the Crossbow is on the thumbnail. Just note that this is primarily focused on just getting Crimson Wight Mark 1, 2, and 3. And the Crossbow you purchase at your local technician. So where do the Crimson Wight and Crossbow sit from a value perspective? Well, they basically tie in 9th place. We'll take a closer look at the cargo because this is what's changed between the two, but I'm just going to say they're identical, coming in at roughly 558,000, which makes a lot of sense when you start looking at some of the components and look at the damage. The damage puts the Crossbow and the Wight tying for 5th position, has a remarkable shield health, coming in at 7th place. Now, this is where the downside is for the Crimson Wight and Crossbow, is it only has a jump of 18. It has quite an ordinary grav drive on it. So the first thing I would do, or I did, is upgrade the grav drive. You won't be able to get very far. You can't jump to those really far out systems like Hawking's. So do note, it's probably the first thing you want to upgrade on this ship is the grav drive. It has a crew of 7, which is excellent. reactor of 40. So we'll come back to the reactor, but it of course being 40, it's going to be one of the top reactors. This is the only difference between the Crimson, Wight, and Crossbow. I thought they were completely identical, but apparently there is a slight difference between the cargo, but nothing to really make any kind of real difference, which could potentially make the weight slightly different, but it's so marginal, you would just say they're identical. And they have the same fuel. Let's have a look under the hull and see what's powering and working behind this bad boy. Well, the power source is the S40 shared flow reactor. This is one out of the 2 reactors that provide a power generation of 40. The second most expensive at 81,000 with a level unlock of 57. Pretty much getting the second or third best reactor in the game straight off the bat if you can get this, which means it can really power any modifications you want to make. Next, we have the disappointing NG300 grav drive. This grav drive has a level unlock of 12. This is probably one of the worst grav drive I've seen on any Mark III Class C ship. I guess the Crimson don't need to travel too far from their own home system. It costs 18,000 and it only requires Starship Design or Rank 1. Moving on to the engines, I absolutely enjoy the way these engines look, and the Wight and Crossbow have been equipped with the SAL 6110 engine. This isn't a particularly potent engine. It has a level unlock of 39, only requires Starship Design or Rank 1, but where it makes up for its pretty average overall stats is that it only requires a power of 2, which means you can put 6 of these bad boys onto your ship, which will give you a combined thrust of 81,000 and a combined maneuvering of 22,000. But you can see with the maneuverability, this is the reason that the Wight Crossbow have a terrible mobility of 41. So just like the grav drive, the second thing I upgraded was the engines. You could put the SAL 3830 engine on this, and this ship would be a rockin', as you can put 6 of those, which will always give you basically the highest combined thrust and maneuvering thrust. So that's definitely an option to consider, is upgrading the engines. And last thing to mention is that it only costs 22,000 each, which definitely makes this much more of an accessible engine early game. And next, what kind of shield is going to be protecting us from those pesky UC ships? Well, we have the Odin 350C shield generator, the third most expensive shield generator in all the game with a level unlock of 57. It's an 11 bar shield, giving you a health of 1,315 with a 5% regenerate. This is probably the 6th or 7th best shield that you can get with 120 HP per 1 power bar. You probably don't need to worry about upgrading the shield. I would leave this for sure. Now, moving on to what is probably the most over-proportioned weapon system. The next we have a weapon I'm really excited to talk about because I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've ever looked at this particular laser weapon. And this is the third most expensive laser weapon at 33,000, and it's the Reza 300 petahertz SX pulse laser turret. Oof, it's the longest name as well. Now, the Reza 300 requires 4 power, so you can only put 3 onto your ship. But with all 3, you get the highest combined shield damage in all of Starfield at 456 if you have all 3. And you're looking at a top 5 combined hull damage of 132 if you have all 3. The range is 1,000, so not particularly great, but not too bad. But this is really cool to see because it is a very potent laser turret. So all I would do, I would just add another Reza 300 straight onto the ship, giving it max stats. Really cool to see this. I don't think too many Class C ships in Starfield have this weapon. Very unique to the Crossbow and Wight. Next, we have a more common weapon you see in Starfield, which is I believe the correct pronunciation is Tsukimasu 50K missile launcher. This has the second highest required level unlock at level 57 at a value of 21,000. It does require a power of 4, so you can only stick 3 of them onto your ship, which would give you a combined hull and shield damage of 408, putting this at the 6th highest shield and hull damage missile launcher in Starfield. But the Tsukimasu 50K also has the highest range, or one of the highest range, at 4,050. And the last but definitely not the least, we have the Make 9A Auto Gauss Gun, which is the second most expensive ballistic weapon that you can get in all of Starfield, having the highest level unlock for all ballistic weapons at level 57. Now, it does require a power of 4, so you can only attach 3 of these bad boys onto your vessel, which when combined would give you a whopping 444 hull damage and 132 shield damage. And of course, this is a Starship Design Rank 4. So as mentioned before, the only difference between these two ships is the cargo. So the Crossbow has 2 300 cm cargo holds, whereas the Crimson Fleet Wight only has 300 cm and a 200 cm. Don't know why they made one slight change like that, but otherwise they're identical. So we'll just go through what you need to have. There's a really good system to find these bad boys. Now, what we're going to need piloting rank 4, so we can pilot Class C ships. If you do not have this, you will not have access to fly the Prophecy Mark III. You need Class B, obviously, to fly the Mark II, and then you don't need anything to fly A class. Other thing we're going to need is, because this is going to be an orbital assault, we're going to need rank 1 of the targeting control systems. We can lock and load and take out the shield, engine, grav drive, and so we can dock with the ship. The other thing you're really going to need is ship parts. I suggest you bring a ton of ship parts. And the final bits you're going to need, you want to be able to build at least 1 mission board on an outpost, which is 4 aluminium, 2 beryllium, 2 zero wire. But I suggest doubling this, because the best and quickest method using the mission board process is to build at least 2 outposts in the same system. Now, I've already gone into quite a bit of detail in another video, so I'll link that up the top. You can check that out if you need a bit more info on using this method, but we'll go through some of the basics and what you need to know so you can do it just watching this video. But this will be a sure way to get the Crimson Fleet Wight Mark 1, 2, or 3 within 30 minutes to an hour. So the caveats to this: I don't suggest using this method if you have joined the Crimson Fleet faction. You kill too many Crimson Fleet ships, you will get disbanded. The mission board method will be level locked. So say you're level 0 to 30, you're probably only going to get missions for the Mark 1, possibly the Mark 2. And then I'd say anywhere from 30 to say 60, you could be getting missions to pick up Mark 2. And then once you're at level 64 or above, you should be able to get missions for the Crimson Fleet Wight Mark III. The good thing about doing it this way is that you can get paid, capture the Mark III, you'll get XP. And this method can be quicker than jumping around to a different system, trying to get it in orbit. Most definitely quicker than trying to use the reload and save trick, because that can be a little challenging to actually generate that. Even in the higher 75 planets, really does depend. It's too inconsistent to be able to give you a good location, but I will have a few suggestions at the end of where you can go, try and find them on land and in orbit. You do have the option not to build an outpost. The method we're going to be using only requires you to find a general mission board, which you can find at most civilian outposts. So do note, you don't need to build an outpost for this. You can just find a city outpost, go to the mission board there and use this very same technique. But for this example, I'll just be showing you the method I use myself, which I think will probably be the quickest way to get the mission board quest to go destroy a Crimson Fleet Wight Mark III. So I'm going to assume you found your planet or moon and you built an outpost and you've built a mission board and you're over level 62. You open the mission board and what have we got? We've got destroy a Crimson Fleet right and a rate. Doesn't say Mark III. Don't really want these missions. So we are going to actually accept all of these. Yes, we're going to accept them all, but we're actually not going to do them. So we're going to accept them all. Then we want to come into our mission menu and then we're going to reject them. For me, it's X. I'm not exactly sure what it is on console, but we are just going to reject all these missions. So we've originally accepted them and then we just thrown them in the bin. We don't want to do them. Once you've rejected the missions, you want to fly to orbit. Now you can just fly to the current system orbit. That should also reset it, but sometimes it won't. So it tends to be better to fly to a different moon or planet orbit and then come straight back. And now we'll have the mission board here. We'll have missions again. So this time we got a Crimson Fleet Haunt Mark III. Not really what we're after. So we would accept and then we are going to reject them and then rinse and repeat. We'll go to orbit and now we'll head back, open it. We should have some new missions. Okay, so no new missions. So what we'll do is we will delete it, exit out of the build the mission board again, and there we go. And you can see again, we've got destroy the Crimson Fleet Haunt Mark III. Don't want that one. But you would keep repeating this process till you finally get a mission that will say destroy the Crimson Fleet Wight Mark III. But my preferred method for doing this is having 2 outposts within the same system, and then all we are doing is we're just gonna jump between them. We're going to have a look at this mission board, see what it has. Notice it has the same. So, of course, we have to accept all of these. You don't have to technically accept these ones, but I just do that just in case. Then we're going to reject these ones. Then we're going to travel to the other outpost. And we can see here that it has reset. It's not the ones we want. We will take them. We will reject them. Then we'll head back to the other outpost. And we just keep doing that until we would finally get the ship we're after. So one tip that I noticed that may help you do this quicker is to go to the mission board and accept one of the missions, destroy a Crimson fleet, complete that mission, come back, and it seems to potentially increase the chances of getting the Mark III quest. So I definitely could recommend trying that, at least trying to complete one mission and then keep farming this process, because then you'll find that you may get to destroy the Crimson Fleet Mark III. So to get this, it took me an hour. I've done this 4 times, each time with a different ship. So I'm going to give you some really important tips, especially if you're around the 60 level and you have an average ship. This can be quite tricky. So the first and extremely important tip, we need to make at least 2 saves. So you can make a save as soon as you've accepted the mission to get the Wight Mark III, and then the other save will be as soon as you enter orbit and you can see that you're in front of the Wight Mark III. The other really important tip, make sure you have your ship properly configured. Make sure you have all your weapons at the levels you want. Make sure your ship is fully repaired. If you have a terrible ship, put this down to very easy. If you have a very overpowered ship, put this on to very hard. So at least if we have a couple different saves, if we haven't configured everything perfectly, or we need to go back and get a different ship, we can go back to the very first save. Or if we just need to try again because we've destroyed it or it destroyed us, we can go back to the save in orbit. Really important tip, because this way you can test to see if you're up for the challenge or if you need a better upgraded vessel. Okay, so let's say you've got it all sorted. You've jumped into orbit. You're ready to take the Crimson Fleet on. Note that sometimes it will just be one ship, and that is the ideal situation. Other times you'll get jumped by 4 to 3 other vessels. I think the difficulty can impact this. So again, it can be a good idea to set this to very easy before jumping into orbit with the Wight, but having those saves will give you that flexibility to test that out if you have any issues. But let's say it's all gone well. You didn't do what I did, jumped in there with a broken ass ship and had it on very hard, got destroyed multiple times. It took me about 15 minutes in honest to get this because I jumped in with a terrible, badly damaged ship. If I set it to too easy, my guns would destroy it too quick. If I set it to too hard, I'd get annihilated. So that's why that tip to save is very important. But otherwise, you've destroyed all the other ships and you've isolated the Wight, left it to last, destroyed the grav drive, you destroyed the engines. Now you can dock. And from this point on, it's pretty straightforward. But what I will do is I will give you a rundown quickly of how to get to the cockpit from the door, from your starting position, because you can get a bit lost in this ship. And I think this is a handy tip to have. Okay, so if you jumped on board from your starting location, you'll need to clear the level below you, and then you'll need to follow this path to get to the cockpit. So you're basically doing a big loop and you go straight to the top level and then you'll have the cockpit. Looks really simple, but if you don't know, you get lost. Now, I was going to go through some other tips on other places to find this on land and orbit, but run out of time. This video has taken way too long, so lots of information to provide, but I hope you got something out of this. And this will give you the Crimson Fleet Wight Mark III. It's a tremendous ship, looks awesome. You can repaint it so it actually looks a lot better than the poo brown. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate your time, and I hope you got something out of this. Please consider liking and subscribing if you did. Peace till next time. I'll welcome you to where I find my ships, where I try to help you learn a little bit more about some of the base ships in Starfield, and most importantly, some methods on how to get these awesome ships. And today, we're going to be looking at the Reef III. Now, the Reef III is very unique as it's the only ship in all of Starfield that comes with one of the best engines in the game, which is the Poseidon DT230 engine, an absolute monster of an engine. And due to this rare component, the Reef Mark III has the best maneuverability of any Class C at a starting maneuverability of 84. With such a high mobility, you can easily add one more DT230 engine and get a mobility of 100. Now, if you really care about the aesthetics, you could look to add a D60 engine on both sides, giving it that really cool look where you have 2 main engines and 2 secondary engines. Looks awesome flying this in space. It also comes with a ton of the top components in Starfield, but we'll get to that very soon. The Reef Mark III comes in at the 8th most highly valued ship in all of Starfield, at a hefty price tag if you were to purchase, with no commerce perk, of a value of 577,425. And just some quick bits about it. It has a jump range of 30, a crew of 6, a reactor of 40, and a very reasonable cargo of 3,500. Got a very sturdy hull health of basically 1,500. Quite terrible on the fuel. That's an easy fix. It's an absolute fun and fantastic ship to get and to chuck on a bunch of weapons. Straight away, put on one of my favorite particle weapons, which is the PBO 300 Auto Alpha turret. Cool thing about this turret is you can put 3 of them on. You'd also very quickly and easily make so many different weapon choices, as it has plenty of spots at the top, put on whatever you want, plenty of room for more cargo, and it's got some of the more unique landing gear. The other unique thing is that the Reef III can only be purchased at a select few technicians, which will only become available once you reach level 72. What makes getting the Reef III more difficult than other ships is that I don't believe you can actually purchase the Reef III from your landing pad with this shipbuilder. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, you cannot purchase the Reef Mark III from your shipbuilder that you can build at your outpost, which is pretty wild. So it does make it less accessible, but still worthwhile. Let's have a look under the hull and see what's powering and working behind this bad boy. Well, the power source is the S40 sheared flow reactor. This is one out of the 2 reactors that provide a power generation of 40. The second most expensive at 81,000 with a level unlock of 57. Pretty much getting the second or third best reactor in the game straight off the bat if you can get this, which means it can really power any modifications you want to make. Moving on to the grav drive. Well, the Mark III won't disappoint, having the most expensive grav drive in the game, the infamous J52 Gamma grav drive, which you'll be able to unlock and purchase to throw onto your own ship at level 53. This grav drive has the highest health and a power of 11. It comes in at a whopping 118,000 credits. So you'll be able to get out of a tight pinch. Now, moving on to the shield. Now we have the Odin 350 C shield generator. This is the 3rd most expensive shield generator with a level unlock of 57. It is Starship Design rank 4 again. Gives you quite a good shield health of 1300 with a 5% regeneration rate, and it's an 11 power shield. So a really nice shield to keep you safe in space. Moving on to the most unique component of the Reef Mark III, the Poseidon DT230 engine. The only ship in the game that has this engine. It is the 4th most expensive engine at a cost of 42,000 with a level unlock of 57. It has a required power of 4, so you can only attach 3 of these, but that will give you 100 mobility. Gives you a whopping combined thrust of 103,000 with a maneuvering thrust of 34,000 if you have all 3 engines attached. Its thrust per power is 8,630. This is definitely one of the top D-class engines you can get in the game. And we'll start off with the Obliterator 250 MEV Alpha turret. This is an auto turret. It's a particle weapon. It means it has superb range and very intense hull damage and shield damage. Obliterator will require Starship Design rank 4. It is also the 2nd most expensive particle weapon you can attach to your ship with a level unlock of 60. We're looking at one of the best particle weapons you can attach to your ship. The only downside is that you can only put 3 of these on your vessel because it does require a power of 4. So you only have 12 bars. So if you wanted to put max power, you can only put 3 of these bad boys on. That's still very good because they are crazy strong, and they pack a punch. You can put this on very hard. You'll still see that health bar go down quite quickly with these. Now, the Obliterator 250 MEV auto turret also has one of the highest shield and hull DPS at 129, which is really crazy. So that's a 129 damage per second these bad boys can punch out. The other weapon attached is the Marauder 150N railgun turret. This is an auto turret. What's interesting about this turret is that it has the highest hull damage of all the ballistic weapons, coming in at 81. There's not really any other ballistic weapon that comes close from the hull damage perspective, but it has quite a slow rate of fire, which is why it doesn't perform so well overall. But it's still probably one of the top 10 railguns you can attach to your ship. It has a level unlock of 43. With that usual terrible range for ballistics at 800. The value is 33,000, and with a power of 4, you can only put 3 of them on. You attach 3 of these, you'll get a combined hull damage of 364 and a combined shield damage of 108. But I'm very surprised at how this performs, especially with a few other autocannons. It absolutely shreds. A very good starting weapon for sure. Quickly, what you're going to need. Now, to make this simple, definitely get your pilot rank 4 just so you can take over any Class C ships. You will get you're not authorized to pilot this ship if you don't have the appropriate piloting rank. Make sure you also have security rank 1 so you can hack into the advanced locks that's sometimes required to get into ships that have landed. And since you're going to have to unlock the main hatch, you're going to need a digipick, so bring a couple with you. It's always good to have these on you. Now, to get the Reef Mark III, we're probably looking at a minimum required level of at least 60 or above. Could be 72. I haven't pinpointed the exact levels. I am unsure if you'd get the Reef 1 or 2. It will depend on your spawn pool. But again, if you are anywhere from say 20 to 60, you could be seeing the Reef 1 or 2. There's going to be 2 to 3 different scenarios that you can pick up the Reef Mark III. Since it's on land, it'll either be the smugglers, the hunters, which will depend on if you're on a planet with fauna, or it'll be those people looking for parts or water or some sort of item that you can give them and then they'll take off. In my testing, I've seen all three on various different planets or moons, but in this scenario, we'll be looking at the simplest version where you just rock up and the crew are looking for parts, water, or something that they need to be able to leave the planet. Now, do note, I only started seeing reefs once I started seeing starborn ships spawning. I've gotten quite far into the campaign where you meet the starborn, so just make note that might be the same situation for you, it might not. So where do I find Reef Mark III? Well, in this particular instance, we'll use Bore II in the Bore system. I got it on a third or second save and reload, and looking from a resource perspective, it's a bit of an awkward situation. I can't center it, quite the big planet, but this will just give you a rough idea of where I landed in terms of resources. It'd be the same for you. Now, the Bore system, there will be another requirement to get to the Bore system, a ship with at least a jump of 25 light years, I believe. So that will be another requirement. Now, do note, if you have the correct spawn pool and you have Guardians spawning, you should also be able to find the Reef Mark III. I know for sure I definitely got it. Definitely got the Reef Mark III on Hawking 4A. Found it in Archimedes and the moons there. I found it nearly in all these areas, but again, it just depends if you have luck with the spawn pool. On one account, I could not get it to spawn, even being over level 80. But again, hadn't progressed very far into the campaign. But it seemed to be once I did get further into campaign, I would start to get Reef Mark III as I got it to a higher level. I was very far into the campaign. So just keep that in mind. There's something we haven't quite figured out with how the spawn poolers works. If we ever do, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I would start with Bore II and using the save and reload technique. I'm pretty sure I landed on the deciduous forest areas. You can try other ones, but that's where I was sticking to. And that should just give you a rough idea of where you might be able to find a Reef Mark III. It's going to be dependent on many factors. This might be quite hard to get. Buying might be one of the better options in this ship's case. Or progressing further into the storyline could be an option. Okay, so my setup was I was jumping from Fermi to Bore. It was my first time visiting the Bore system. I jumped into orbit around Bore II. And then I spent a bit of time, I was just trying to find out all the different area types. They have mountains, they have frozen crevasses, and they have the deciduous forest. So I thought I would stick to deciduous forest. So I ended up landing there. And then it was just a matter of doing the load and save trick. So obviously I had the auto save for landing on. So when I land, the game saves. And first time I landed, I got the Starborn. And then I also then got the A-class. And then on the third go, I got the UC Reef Mark III, which was awesome. And it's very easy to tell this one absolutely is huge in the sky. And then it was just a matter of running over. Now, I just put an outpost down just in case it was a smuggler's ship. So you can do that before or after, depending on what type of scenario you get it. And then it was just a matter of running up. Now, these guys wanted some ship parts. But obviously, you don't give them the ship parts. You just ignore them. And you can just run straight onto the ship. Now, you will have to use your level 1 security perk to get this, because you'll need to unlock the front hatch. And once that's unlocked, you just make your way to the cockpit. It will be empty. And it's just bing, bada, boom. It's all yours. Easy for the taking. Now, you will get this under the few different scenarios. So if it is the smugglers, remember that you'll need to drop down an outpost, take the items from the captain. Once you've taken the items from the captain, travel to an orbit of another planet or moon within the same system, and then come back. And then they should all be gone, and you should be able to take the ship that way. If you're ever in doubt about how to take smuggler ships where it says you're not authorized to fly the ship, check out the video on the top right. That will sort you out. That will help you get those kind of ships in that scenario. And lastly, to register, it costs roughly 60,000 credits. So not too bad. It is a top 10 ship in Starfield, so definitely worth it. That will be it for this video. Thank you so much for stopping by, checking out. Please let me know how you go. If you have any luck. Thanks so much. Peace out. Welcome to where I find my ships, and today we're going to be checking out the Stormrider Mark III. And we're going to go on a mad deep dive. This ship is absolutely stunning. It has major rank 4 starship design components across the board. Every single major component is a starship design rank 4. Puts it in a rare category because not a great deal of the ships you can find in the system has a complete build out of rank 4 starship design. I'm also going to show you a really reliable way to get the Stormrider Mark 1, 2 or 3. For the most part, we're going to be focusing on the Mark 3, but this is also very much applicable to the Mark 1 and 2. Before we get into all the goodness, how does the Stormrider Mark 1, 2 and 3 fit into the universe of Starfield. First off, you probably know this, that the Stormrider Mark 1, 2, and 3 come under the combat category. So these are heavily weaponized ships that are there in Starfield to protect the Gold Bank's interest and transport all the goods and gold and money. Well, what's interesting is that the Stormrider Mark 1 and 2 is an identical copy of the Va'ruun Revelation Mark 1 and 2. The Stormrider Mark 1 is the exact same ship as the Va'ruun Revelation Mark 1, and the same goes for the Va'ruun Revelation Mark 2 is the exact same ship as the Stormrider Mark 2. But where things get drastically different is the Stormrider Mark III. The Stormrider Mark III is completely unique to the Gold Bank. It is their ultimate defense against piracy. The only caveat to this is that I'm pretty sure you can get a Stormrider Mark III as a Valentine, whereas you will find the Mark 1 and 2 of the Stormrider very, very common across the universe as the black variation under control of the faction of the Va'ruun. So what makes the Stormrider Mark III so special? Well, the Stormrider Mark III is the 7th most valued ship in all of Starfield, coming in at over 578,000. That price will fluctuate depending on your commerce perk and what rank it is, which highlights that its combined components makes it a monster in space. Looking at the damage output is 232, but keep in mind that the damage figures is an output. It's not a damage per second. It's not the most accurate way to really judge a ship's potential in terms of how much damage it can dish out, which will put the Stormrider Mark III at the 25th position just from a damage output perspective, which again doesn't really highlight the weapons and power that this ship has. But we'll come back to the weapons in a moment. And how protected are you going to be in the Stormrider Mark III? Well, the Mark III shield rank comes in at 3rd position, making it a very safe place to call home in space. It's a rare ship that has 12 bar for shield, which is no surprise because this beast has been equipped with the 104D Guardian Shield Generator, which is the most expensive shield generator in all of Starfield, which gives you that supreme feeling of being a gold bar stuck in a central bank vault, safe as can be. Well, what if you need to get away quickly or jump to a far distant system? Well, the Mark III won't disappoint, having the most expensive grav drive in the game, the infamous J52 Gamma Grav Drive, which you'll be able to unlock and purchase to throw onto your own ship at level 53. This grav drive has the highest health and a power of 11. It comes in at a whopping 118,000 credits. So you'll be able to get out of a tight pinch at a moment's notice. And speaking of pinches, the Stormrider Mark III is equipped with the Pinch 8Z reactor, which again is also the most expensive reactor that you can get in Starfield. Incredible, isn't it? The Pinch 8Z reactor is one of 2 reactors that has a base power of 40 and coming in with the highest health as well. This is an absolute monster of a reactor that's going to allow the addition of insane weapons to stack on this beast. And none other than the Supernova 2200 engine propelling this giant into the depths of the dark. The Supernova coming in at the 5th most expensive engine that you can purchase, that you can access at level 57. Some of the other noteworthy addition to the Stormrider Mark III is the Pinpoint 4G landing gear, giving a lander thruster 2 and a hull of 3. You also have some of the best cargo. You have the Carvel B103 cargo hold. And overall, this just has to be one of the most supremely built ships in Starfield, which would make sense because of course the banks are going to be able to dish out and get some of the best components in all the universe. Looking at the weapons of the Stormrider Mark III, Gold Bank did not skimp out on any expenses here. All weapons, Starship Design, rank 4, starting off with the Reza 300 Pulse Laser Turret. There's not one, but 2. This is a top tier weapon, and if you add one more, you probably have max stats. Next, we got the Make 9A Auto Gauss Gun, which is the 2nd most expensive ballistic weapon you can attach to your ship, which requires you to be level 57 to be able to purchase and attach. And to top it all off, we've got the 50k missile launcher, which at a value of 21,000 will sit at the 5th place for the most expensive missile launcher you can attach to your ship. So when you break it down and look at it like this, you can really see that the Stormrider Mark III is absolute beast. Okay, so I'll just give you some rough levels to work with of when you should see the Stormrider Mark 1, 2, or 3. So the Stormrider Mark 1 or the OG Stormrider, you'll see from the very get-go. You'll see it around all the major cities. so no issues getting this one. Mark II. Mark II of the Stormriders does not appear in any of your technicians until level 54. So you're probably going to be seeing Stormriders 2 slowly start to appear once you get to level 40, and you'll progressively see them more and more common as you level up. And once you get to 54, you should be seeing them much more regularly. Now, the Stormrider 3 doesn't appear in any of your technicians or purchasing until level 76, which gives us some indication that you might be able to find the Stormrider 3 starting from a very rare occurrence at say level 50 and becoming more and more common once you get to level 76 and above. This is just a rough guide, nothing set in stone, but you will be looking to see the Stormrider Mark III much more common once you start leveling up 70 plus. Okay, so to start us off, what are we going to need to be able to capture this brutal ship? We're going to need the Class C piloting license. We will also need the targeting control system rank 1 so we can lock and load and dock with this ship in space. I'm going to present to you two different methods on how to find, engage and dock a Stormrider Mark III. The second method I show you will be applicable to the Stormrider Mark 1, 2 and 3. But this first method is only for the Stormrider Mark III. And for this method, there will be one more restriction. First method will require you to get to the Hawking system, which means you're going to need a grav drive that can jump at least between 23 to 25 light years. So keep that in mind as a very high activity around the planet to moon's orbits. When you're at a high enough level, jumping between the different planets and moons will eventually lead you to come across a Stormrider Mark III by itself. That's why this method is really cool, because you can actually get the Stormrider Mark III absolutely free in the right condition and scenario. Now do note, you can find the Stormrider Mark III in many different locations around the universe. But this method tends to work quite well in the Hawking system, so I suggest you start there. It's not the be all end all. There's plenty other systems you will find it. I've been able to reproduce this in the Hawking system a couple of times, so I have a bit more certainty that this should work for more people. But again, it is a random event, so it's up to you how much time you want to put into this. But at least this is an excellent place to start. So the method of finding the Stormrider Mark III is really simple. All we are doing is just jumping from moon, planet to moon, just jumping all over the place and just looking to generate that random event when the Stormrider Mark III will be traveling by itself. Now, I don't think the difficulty will really matter at this stage. You can try this on very hard, very easy, depending how your ship's set up and what sort of difficulty you're looking to do this at. Keep in mind that the Stormrider Mark III does pack a punch. However, do note that for me, when I spawned the Stormrider Mark III, my difficulty was on very high. Reduced it to say very easy or normal just for the docking process. I suggest doing the same. If you're having any problems, just lower the difficulty, make it easier, as it is a random generated event and it could be hard to get it again. So first things first. Okay, so for me, I've just been jumping around from moon to planet within the Hawking system. No order, just randomly blind. You'll run into all kinds of different things. You'll run into enemies, different enemy factions. You'll run into, I think, Freestar, even UC ships. You'll run into pretty much everything, but the aim here is just to keep jumping and keep trying until you run into the Stormrider Mark III. Lo and behold, lucky me, I found it. As soon as we've identified that we've run into a Stormrider Mark III, we are going to save the game. It's very important to save the game just in case we stuff this up or we get annihilated or it doesn't go our way because the autocannons kill it by chance, or however it works out. We just want to make sure we have a saved game here. Okay, and before you engage, absolutely imperative that if you don't want to get a bounty, that you lock onto the ship first before firing. If you fire before locking onto the vessel, you will get a bounty. And then the bounties will stack every time you kill someone and you're gonna have a bad time, you're gonna have to pay a bounty. But if you don't care, yeah, go for it. But just keep in mind, lock on first. That way you won't get a bounty. Let me show you what I mean. In this example, we locked on and we fired. We did not get that 650 bounty. And then if we compare it to the other way, where we don't lock on and we just start firing blindly at this ship, you'll notice that at the top right, you will see that 650 bounties added to us. And that will start the bounty count every time we kill a crew member after that. I think it keeps adding up. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Also, just keep in mind that if you have companions with you, particularly main quest companion, they're going to dob on you in all orbital encounters, so you'll always get a bounty. You can sometimes get bounties even if they're on your ship, so just make sure if you want to get no bounty, get your companions on an outpost or off your ship, and then this way you'll get the Stormrider absolutely free. Also, do note that sometimes you may get stuck with the 650 bounty. That just means something didn't go exactly right for you, but it's a small price to pay. But then again, if you have companions, you're looking at a lot more. Now we're up to the docking part, so this is where I will actually change the difficulty to very hard. That's what I enjoy, and it also can increase your drop rate for legendaries in the rare occurrence that you get them on ships. The way I played this raid was that I was in mostly stealth, which makes it even easier not to rack up bounties. But again, no one else is around, so by the time you kill the last crew member, you should not get any bounty. And again, I have no crew members on my ship, no one to dob on me. I was using stealth for the most part, so I incurred no bounty. Might have looked like I got a bounty there, but I went straight back to the Tracker Alliance bounty clearance service and there was no bounty at all. And that is method 1. Next, we're going to move on to the second and final method that will get you the Mark 1, 2, or 3 of the Stormrider, depending on your level. This method is applicable to any system that needs to have a contraband scan, because you'll always find Stormriders around major cities on planets. And this is rather a simple method. All we're trying to do is we're trying to use our scanner to find a Stormrider, follow them out to the edge of the system or as far out as we possibly can. Now that we've got them at the edge of the system or quite far out, we can start attacking. And the aim here is to do it quite quickly so we don't take too much damage from other ships in the area if they do decide to attack. And that's one of the caveats to this. This may take a few goes. You might want to put this on very easy, depending on where the Stormrider is. If it's very close to the planet, then you'll get attacked quite a bit. If it's further out, you won't have to worry because the ships have to travel to you and they won't start attacking you straight away. And don't worry, as soon as you dock with the Stormrider, the attacks will stop. And they won't attack you after taking the Stormrider and go into another system to clear any bounties that you got. That's the other thing to note. You will get a bounty using this method more than likely because there are other ships around. And once you've cleared the ship, you can sit in the pilot's seat. You can undock and you don't have to worry about anyone attacking you because no one seems to attack you after this. Sometimes though, your ship might go rogue and start attacking other ships. They do seem to prefer to target your old ship rather than your new ship. But the best thing to do is just to try to jump out of there as quick as possible. And you can see here, I only have a bounty of 300 of 1300, which isn't bad at all, considering that I've just taken this ship while in a very heavily populated area. So again, it's not much at all. Very, very cool. And now if you have any trouble spawning this, all you have to do is just travel between all the different planets and systems that have major cities. Keep doing that until you get a Stormrider that you're after. If you're a high level, you'll get Stormrider 1, 2, and 3. And if you're lower level, you'll probably only get the Stormrider 1 or 2. So remember, it is level dependent, but that will actually get you a Stormrider Mark 1, 2, or 3. Oh, and also you can see right here, you can see my ship getting attacked and going rogue. So pretty funny. But yeah, it does happen. And I just jumped out of there. Didn't cause any issues. My ship was still there in my inventory after. Now we'll quickly check out the registration. If you want to register this ship, it's roughly going to cost you 60,000 credits. And that's going to wrap it up. I know there was a lot of information in this one and it took a while, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of it. And if you did like it, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks very much. Peace. I'll welcome you to where I find my ships, where I try to help you learn a little bit more about some of the base ships in Starfield, and most importantly, some methods on how to get them. And today we're finally going to be looking at the Renegade III. I have not had this much fun with this ship for quite a while. First thing I did, as soon as I got this, I whacked some more engines on it, some more weapons, and this thing is just so much fun to use. Don't know why. With all this fun I've had, I'm hoping I can share some of it with you, give you some points and tips on how to get the Renegade III a bit later in the video. I've been wanting to cover the top 10 ships in terms of value in Starfield, and this is really cool because Renegade, it's on the 6th position for the highest value at 578,000. Now, I love ships with a lot of cargo, and this thing is absolutely awesome. It has a very reasonable cargo of, let's say, 4,000. Obviously, if you get the perk that increases your cargo, it holds a lot more. The Renegade Mark III also has an awesome hull health of 1,488, reactor of 40, crew of 6, and a jump distance of 30 with a very generous shield at 1,300. There's going to be no surprise with all the components on this that it sits so highly valued. Most likely the easiest way in most cases is to buy the vessel. You can buy the Renegade Mark III from level 72 and above. And if you want to buy the Mark II, you'll be able to buy that from your local technician at level 54. But let's have a look under the hull and see what's powering and working behind this bad boy. Well, the power source is the S40 shared flow reactor. This is one out of the 2 reactors that provide a power generation of 40. The second most expensive at 81,000 with a level unlock of 57. Pretty much getting the second or third best reactor in the game straight off the bat if you can get this, which means it can really power any modifications you want to make. Moving on to the grav drive, we've got the Apollo GV300. It requires Starship Design rank 4, pretty much the second best grav drive you can get in Starfield. Has a max power of 11, a jump thrust of 50, a health of 288, and a huge price tag of 55,000 with a level unlock of 52. This will give you a jump range of 30. So again, a really good grav drive to start off with. Don't ever need to upgrade this thing. In fact, in some situations, you might even want to downgrade. The main engine is the Supernova 2200, one of the top 10 engines you can get in the game. It has a level unlock of 57. It requires Starship design, rank 4. Cool thing about the Supernova is that you can attach 4 of them to your ship, which would give a combined thrust of 103,000 roughly, which is the 3rd highest potential thrust for pretty much all of Starfield. Now, it's not cheap. It's 42,000 per engine, but it has a really slick design. The Renegade Mark III has a terrible mobility. At 37, I would definitely be upgrading these engines as soon as I get it. You can easily upgrade this to get 100 mobility and 150 top speed. Now, moving on to the shield. Now we have the Odin 350 C shield generator. This is the 3rd most expensive shield generator with a level unlock of 57. It is Starship design rank 4 again. Gives you quite a good shield health of 1300 with a 5% regeneration rate, and it's an 11 power shield. So a really nice shield to keep you safe in space. Since the Renegade, the highly offensive cargo ship, most of the components are Hope Tech, which is really nice to see, and the cargo is safely underneath. Now, I could be wrong here, but it also has the Hope 55 landing gear. It has a thrust of 4, a hull of 3, and a mass of 3, which is entirely unique to the Hope 55 landing gear. Not sure if it is the best, but I absolutely enjoy how it looks. Exactly what you imagine landing gear to look like. Moving on to the weapons. And this is the 3rd most expensive laser weapon at 33,000. And it's the Reza 300 petahertz SX pulse laser turret. Oof, it's the longest name as well. Now the Reza 300 requires 4 power, so you can only put 3 onto your ship. But with all 3, you get the highest combined shield damage in all of Starfield at 456 if you have all 3. And you're looking at a top 5 combined hull damage of 132. Now the Renegade is one of the few ships that has 1 max weapon component. So it has the 3 Reza 300, means it's very potent. One of the few ships that has this feature. The range is 1,000. So not particularly great, but not too bad. But this is really cool to see because it is a very potent laser turret. And lastly, we have the Marauder 115N rapid railgun, which is a ballistic weapon. This is the 3rd most expensive railgun in the game, coming in at 37,000 with a level unlock of 49. It has pretty average range at 800. Only stick 3 Marauder 115Ns. With that, you get a combined hull damage of 396. And a combined shield damage of 120. Not overly keen on this weapon, I would change this. You could go the Vanguard Hellfire autocannons, since that has the highest combined hull and shield damage, although it has pretty average range at 800. I like a bit more range, so you might go the MKE 9A auto Gauss gun as a possible option. And since the Renegade doesn't have a 3rd weapon slot, I would consider putting missiles on this or another particle weapon. I threw on 3 of the 280C missile launches. They have the highest combined hull damage and shield damage at 792. Something you could consider doing. Absolutely punishes. Quickly, what you're going to need. Now, to make this simple, definitely get your pilot rank 4 just so you can take over any Class C ships. You will get you're not authorized to pilot this ship if you don't have the appropriate piloting rank. Make sure you also have security rank 1 so you can hack into the advanced locks that's sometimes required to get into ships that have landed. And since you're going to have to unlock the main hatch, you're going to need a digipick, so bring a couple with you. It's always good to have these on you. So the other thing that you're going to need to consider to get this ship, which may put this out of reach for a lot of people, is that I've been doing a lot of testing between multiple accounts, and I think I'm starting to understand a little bit better about some of the spawn pools, how it works. Now, I could be wrong. A lot more testing is required, but it does seem that your spawn pool will change depending on where you are up to in the main campaign. This is highly speculative right now, but I have not been able to get the Renegade on other accounts, whereas if you are past the part where you get starborn spawning, that seems to change your potential spawn pool. I'm going to make another video on this, but I'm going to say one of the requirements to get the Renegade Mark III is you're going to be at least level, say, 60. It could be 72. I'm not exactly sure, but I think at least 60 to start getting at least the Renegade 3. You should, in theory, be able to get the Renegade Mark 1 and 2 anywhere from, say, 20 to 60. Very rough range there. The Renegade 3 seems to be extremely rare in terms of finding it out in orbit. It can happen. Let me know if you've come across it and where, because the Renegade 3 has been I've been testing many different planets with the save and reload for about a month, hours on end. It seems to be very infrequent up until you get to, say, past the Starborn mission, where you start seeing Starborn. But it seems to get more frequent the further you are into the campaign. So I just want to make this very clear. You're not seeing starborn ships, and the trigger might even be that mission where Jemison is under attack. I haven't figured out which mission exactly starts to change these pools, but for me personally, I could not get the Renegade III until I've gone further into the campaign. So that's going to be the big caveat to this. Probably won't find it unless you are up to a certain point in the main story. And this is going to be the same for other ships as well. It seems that your spawn pool will change. Some ships will become much more common and others basically impossible to get. More testing will come. I'll make another video on this. So on the 2 accounts I tested this, the Renegade started appearing for the most part more frequently after the mission where Jemison is under attack. The more recent account that I've been testing this on, I'm up to the Power from Beyond. So basically very close to some of the last missions. So keep that in mind. So where did I find the Renegade Mark III? I found it on Rana III in the Rana system. It was one of those rare occurrences that lands at a science outpost. Now I'll show you exactly where I landed in terms of the resource points. May or may not help. One thing I did do is I was sticking to the desert regions. I ignored all the other regions because in the past I've found another Renegade in a desert region. I've avoided the resource areas and landed in a desolate area in terms of resources. May or may not have any luck here. You meet all the other criteria, but just to give you a very good idea, Sandy Desert region, Rana 3, and right at this location. Where is Rana located? Rana is all the way far to the right. It's near Fermi, really nice system. And Rana is a level 65 system. It does require quite a big jump, so keep that in mind. You may need to upgrade your grav drive to get here. Now, the other place I would find renegades is in the Hawking system, famous Hawking 4A. Found that on the other account. But the general sense is once I've reached a certain stage in the game, you could get renegades spawning pretty much on any of these planets, on any of the higher level systems, using the save and reload trick. Can take a little while, but I've definitely done it that way. There was a time when they'll spawn in quite regularly. So in theory, you should be able to find them in Archimedes, Hawkins, and these other higher tier systems. Okay, so the steps I took. I flew to Rana's re-orbit. I landed at the location specified. I had the autosave on with the intention to do the save and reload trick. I got that classic Ecliptic ship first spawn, so I did the reload. And then on my second reload, I got the Renegade Mark III, chased it down to a science outpost location. Do note that you'll get the Renegade in 2 different situations. It will land and it'll have a few guys outside looking for water or parts. In that case, you can just run straight onto the ship and take it with no repercussions. The more likely scenario will be you run into the smugglers, so there'll be no one outside the ship. If there's no one outside the ship, make sure you drop down an outpost. That's one of the first things I did once I realized. You can do it before or after entering the ship and taking the item from their captain. So you'll get onto the Renegade III, you'll find the cockpit, talk to the captain, and the best way to do this is just to lie and say that you're late and that you will get the items from the captain. Now what we need to do, which is really important, this step is to travel to a different planet or moon within the same system. And then since we build an outpost, we can travel straight back to the outpost, which will be much closer than our ship landed. And then we can waltz on into the Renegade III and it'll be completely empty. And we can steal it with no issues, no worries. And you don't have to kill anyone. There's no bounties. It's just being bada boom, it's yours. Now, if you're up to the right place in your game, you should be able to use the same method pretty much on any of the 65 plus planets and moons. You should have no trouble getting the Renegade. It will just take some time. I'd spend about an hour and a half, and in other times it's been a couple hours. So do note, it can take a while. You really do need to find a good spot. Keep in mind that some areas will just never spawn these ships, so you will have to keep changing locations if you're not having any luck. But at least this will give you a rough idea of some of the things you need to think about in order to get the Renegade III. Thank you so much for watching. If you got anything out of this, please consider liking, subscribing, and peace out till next time. Hello. And welcome to Starfield Breakdancing Competition 2023. Nah, only kidding. And in this video, we are going to be getting the Prophecy Mark 1, 2, or 3 in a very reliable way that everyone should be able to replicate. It can take a bit of time, and depending on your level, you'll either get the Prophecy 1, 2, or 3, but we'll go into that in more detail. Try to provide exactly how I do it and give you all the information you need to be able to get this ship ASAP and for free. Welcome to where I find my ships, where I try to help you learn a little bit more about the ship, where you can find it. We go through some of the bits and pieces, and today we're going to be laser focused on the Varun Prophecy Mark III and its twin white brother, the Vanquisher Mark III. If you don't know this, these two vessels are identical twins, forming a yin-yang triple-decker Stroud-Eklund giant sandwich, both tying for the 4th highest value if you were to purchase this ship. coming in at 588,000 if you don't have any rank on your commerce perk. Now this tutorial will be focused on these two for the most part, but do note that this is going to be very much applicable to the Vanquisher and the Va'ruun Prophecy Mark 1 and 2, both being identical versions of themselves, other than one being white and the other being black. Having a closer look at the stats, we can see that the Prophecy and the Vanquisher Mark III are considered cruiser battleship, so they're very reasonably balanced between having a bit of everything, but then at the same time not particularly good at one specific task other than their speed. So looking at their top speed, it goes up to 150. And probably the most interesting thing about these vessels is that it's using Class A using the SA 4330 engine, which is quite unusual to see a Class A engine on a Class C ship. Just note that the SA 4330 engine requires rank 4 starship design, and you can unlock it at level 43. But the SA 4030 is one of the best Class A engines you can get. It has a power of 2. You can slam 6 of these bad boys onto a Class C, giving the Prophecy and Vanquisher biggest combined engine thrust in all of Starfield at a total of 91,440 engine thrust, which is rather incredible. Hence why its top speed is 150, and this thing can really shoot and go from 0 whoop your ass in a matter of seconds, which also means a not too shabby maneuver thruster of 19,320. The other worthy note is that are in the top 10 for hull health. It sits very nicely at 1,392. They also have a jump range of 30 light years and a very good cargo, putting them at the 11th spot with a cargo hold of 4,120, slightly less than the Vanquisher and Prophecy Mark II. Just one of those ships that is just well built all round. You have plenty of cargo, you got good speed, reasonable maneuverability. Weapons are here nor there, not particularly special. We'll talk about those soon. But it's one of those ships that you can just grab and use for the rest of the game because it can get you anywhere. It's got tons of fuel. It's just a top class all-rounder. Get anywhere. Now let's have a quick look at some of the parts and modules. So we've already had a quick look at the engines, the Class A engine. So we'll move on to the shield. Now the shield equipped is the Fortress A3 shield generator. It's a Class C. Definitely on the more pricey side at a value of 45,000 with a level unlock of 51. So you'll be able to purchase this shield and attach it to your own ships at level 51. It's sitting on 8th place in terms of shield health, 1,215. From memory, it's one of 3 shields in the whole game that give you 11 bar or 11 power for your shield, which means when you allocate 11 power to this shield, you can have a shield health of 1,215, which is not too shabby. Plus, you'll get a 5% regeneration rate for a very reasonable shield, making you very safer. You have the Theta Pinch D9 reactor, which has 37 power to Class C. An interesting thing is it's the only reactor that has a power of 37. It's a pretty common reactor to find on a fair amount of the ships in Starfield. It is a starship design, rank 4, has a level unlock of 51, and it has a value of $77,000, offering one of the highest repair rates and health, and it's certainly going to keep your weapons charged to get the job done. Now the Grav Drive. Now the Grav Drive is a rank 4 starship design. It's the SGD 3300 Grav Drive, which comes with a really decent jump range of 30 light year. I'd really like to see on a Class C ship. Note that this is top model for the SGD Grav Drives. Also one of the most expensive and a very highly rated Grav Drive. So nothing to shake your head out here. Requiring a level unlock of 51 with a fairly decent price tag to come with it at $78,000. But the key takeaway here is that this is going to get you pretty much anywhere you want straight off the bat. Nothing worse than jumping into a Class C that can only jump a few systems away. This thing will get you jumping into DLC in no time. Some other things worth noting is that it has this fantastic long-range fuel tank. It's got the 800T HE3 tank or the Helium-3 tank. I really like how this fuel tank looks. Definitely one of my favorite. The other interesting thing is that nearly all the hubs and other bits and pieces are all Stroud Eklund. And for a flying sandwich, pretty nasty thing to come across. Now let's check out some of the weapons. Touch and go, look at the weapons. They're all rank 3 starship design. The only weapon that really catches my eye is the CE-59 missile launcher. This is the second most expensive missile launcher in the game with a level unlock of 49 and a cost of 25,000 credits. Now the cool thing about the CE-59 missile launcher, it only has a power required of 3, which means you can actually chuck 4 of these bad boys. If you wanted to upgrade, you could put 4 of the CE-59 missile launchers. That would definitely pack a huge punch. You have your Obliterator, 250 MV auto alpha beams. They have superb range at 3900 with the same hull and shield damage. A very nice balanced weapon, but nothing too crazy. Lastly, we have the Marauder 150N rapid railgun. Short range, packs a punch on the hull, does a little bit of shield damage. All of these weapons combined will give you a total cost of 123,000. It's definitely something you would want to consider upgrading or taking a look at. Now, there are plenty of spaces to throw weapons on this, so that's no issue here. Don't need to change the design or anything. Okay, so how do you get a Vanquisher? So Vanquisher Mark 1, 2, or 3. Original Vanquisher, you'll be able to purchase from any of the vendors from the get-go. It's a pretty heavy cost though. You're looking at $350,000 just for the base model, but it is a superb Class C ship to pick up straight off the bat if you can do it. Vanquisher 2 becomes available at your service technicians at level 44, and then the Vanquisher 3 you'll see it service technicians at 64. Now, do note, I'm pretty sure you'll see Vanquishers around the system under the UC or Freestar factions. So you'll put jump one of these and get the Wight version. I'm pretty sure. Do correct me if I'm wrong. It's been fairly certain you'll see these around. Now, the spawning of the Vanquisher and Prophecy Mark 1, 2, and 3 are all going to be sort of tied to the technician level or thereabouts. The higher the level you are, the more likely you'll see a Mark 3, and the lower level you are, very low chance of seeing, say, the Vanquisher or Prophecy 3, but it can still happen. Vanquisher or Prophecy Original, you can probably see at any point from the start of the game. Vanquisher Prophecy Mark 2, you're probably looking at anywhere between, say, 30 to level 50 and above. And again, you will see it earlier. This becomes more common as you level up. And lastly, the Prophecy Vanquisher Mark 3, you probably start seeing, say, 40, 50 level, and then becomes more and more common once you get over 64. But you are looking at a rough range here. Just to give you some indication, ship spawns are generally somewhat level locked. There's something to consider for this next portion where I'll go through, where we'll focus on where we get the Prophecy. Because the Vanquisher, we're just going to say we get this one from the shops. And in particular, we want to go to the Shroud Eklund shop in Neon. Very nice shop, very easy. That's probably a good place to start if you do want to purchase this. And now this next portion, we're going to focus on getting the Prophecy Mark 3. But just note, it very much applies to the Prophecy Mark 1 and 2. It can be either or any of them. Some caveats to be able to get the Prophecy Mark 1, 2, and 3 is that if you have starborn ships spawning, whether they're landing or they're meeting you in the orbit, that's really going to muck up your ship spawns. It will decrease your chance and likelihood, or in some cases, make it impossible to get certain ships. Only way I fix this is starting a new game plus and just avoiding getting up to that part of the campaign. The other thing that will impact these methods is that if you have the wanted trait, that can make it even easier, as you will get more ships attacking you in orbit more often. Now for me, I was hunting the Prophecy on very hard. Putting this on very easy will make much of a difference. We will just go through what you need to have to be able to get the Prophecy. So now we'll go through the method of getting the Prophecy Mark 1, 2, or 3. This will work with all three of them. There's a really good system to find these bad boys. Now what we're going to need piloting rank 4, so we can pilot Class C ships. If you do not have this, you will not have access to fly the Prophecy Mark 3. You need Class B, obviously, to fly the Mark 2, and then you don't need anything to fly A class. Other thing we're going to need is, because this is going to be an orbital assault, we're going to need rank 1 of the targeting control systems. We can lock and load and take out the shield, engine, grav drive, and so we can dock with the ship. The other thing you're really going to need is ship parts. I suggest you bring a ton of ship parts depending on how you want to play this. I'll give you a couple of suggestions on how you can avoid using ship parts, or if you want to farm the XP, you can use your ship parts as you take damage. Where are we going to find the Prophecy? Well, we're going to find all the Varun ships all in one system, basically, in Serpentis. Serpentis is the home place, or the place to be if you want to find Varun ships. You'll find every single variation of the Varun ships in this system. It's going to be the best place to start. Now, this is going to take some time, and obviously, you're only going to get certain ships depending on your level. If you're looking for Prophecy 3, but you're only level 20, you're going to have a hard time trying to get this. You need to level up more. Basically, all we're going to do is just jump from system to system to system, and we're going to get engaged in a lot of battles. So I don't suggest doing it that way. The way I suggest doing it is making sure you have your settings. You want to go settings, gameplay. You can have any difficulty you want. I was chopping changing from very easy to hard. It seems to be consistent between all the difficulties, so I don't think that matters too much. You want to have save on travel. Quickest way to do this is we jump to a new planet or moon. We've got the autosave. And what happens, it tends to take about 30 seconds to a minute for the ships to arrive, just like now. Now you have two choices. You can destroy all these ships. You've got plenty of ship parts and you don't need to worry. You can kill these ships, get the XP. that's no worries. But if you don't want to engage in these battles, because it's going to take quite some time jumping between moons and planets, what I suggest you do is just load that last autosave. For me, it's this one. Okay, so now that we know that we're going to get attacked by Crimson ships, we don't really want to engage in them because we're just looking for the prophecy. So then we'll go to Serpentis 5, and then we'll just keep doing this process until we run into the Prophecy 3. This method is going to be the quickest because we avoid all the orbital battles, because Serpentis is an extremely active system. You're going to find spaces, Crimson, and a ton of Varun in this system. Nearly every single jump, you're going to either be running into civilians or ships that will attack you. Now, I've been able to replicate this multiple times within the Serpentis system. It does take time. It took me about 45 minutes to get it twice. It may take you a lot longer. Depends on how you go with your random events. And see, something like this, I completely ignore, and we just jump to another system. And we keep going. We keep doing this. Now, I have a preference to come back to the big yellow planet because that's where I found a few prophecies. That might not be the case for you, but that's just been my luck. And so we wait for a while and see there's nothing sort of spawning here. So nothing spawning. So that means we'll just jump to another system, or we can even just go press E. For controllers, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but we'd select the planet closest and we can just travel, where you can avoid going to the menu. Now, so you'll notice that these guys, once they appear, they don't reset, not particularly fast. You want to stay away from those locations if you know they are there. So those sort of civilian encounters can slow things down a bit. You just want to avoid those moons or planets. At the autosave, we're just going to wait. Okay, so this spot's spoiled. So yeah, we don't want to borrow that one. Go to another one. We'll go to 4A. Okay, now we've got another civilian ship. We could wait here for 30 seconds, see if it gets attacked. And I'm just going to speed this next part up just so you know that this was a live test. Didn't muck around, and I was just waiting. And lo and behold, here we go. Okay, so we've run into some more again. We've got a Varun Prophecy 3. Here we go. So it doesn't take too long. That was only, what, 6 or 7 jumps just doing that live for you. And I only just got another Prophecy 3. So I'm obviously on gold mode right now just because I've been searching, testing this. But this gives you a really good idea of how easy you can come across the Prophecy 1, 2, and 3. So now I'll just quickly run you through some of the issues you can find yourself when trying to capture Varun Prophecy. Now, depending on how your ship is set up, you may need to lower or raise the difficulty. Make sure you either don't kill the Prophecy too quickly so you can board, so you can dock and board. For you new players, remember you need to take out grav drive, engine, and shield to be able to dock with the ship. Or on the other end, you may need to lower the difficulty down so they don't completely wipe you out, because you will be facing 3, sometimes 4 ships at the same time. If you are lower level and you're trying to do this, I would suggest chucking this on very easy. You want to take out the surrounding ships first and then target the Prophecy last. What you can do is once you've taken out the other ships, you can then save it, and then it's just you and the Prophecy, so you can come back to that save where it's just you and the Prophecy, make it easier and quicker. Once you're able to dock with the Prophecy, it's very easy. There's not that many guys on the ship. You'll have no worries there. We won't go into that too much. Once you've cleared the ship, you'll be able to sit in the pilot's seat and bing bada boom, it's yours. And this is a really reliable way of how to get the Prophecy 1, 2, or 3. Vanquisher, we're going to have to buy from a store, or if you're lucky, you will find the UC or freestar version. I can't remember exactly how it works. I very rarely see the Vanquisher, but for the most part, I'm testing things, so I don't get around the galaxy a lot. If you do know a great spot to find the Vanquisher, please let me know. And that's pretty much going to sum it up. So this will get you a Prophecy 1, 2, or 3 very reliably. Takes time. But I hope you got something out of this and enjoyed it. A little bit longer than normal, but I appreciate your time. Peace out till next time. And yeah, if you like it, subscribe, like, all that schmozzle. Peace. I welcome you to where I find my ships, and today we're going to be exploring the rarest and hardest bloody ship to get in all of Starfield. It's a ship you're never going to see. You can go and look on YouTube right now or Reddit, and you will find mere glimpses, or in YouTube's case, absolutely nothing on this ship, because it's bloody impossible to get. Well, not exactly impossible. It's just so freaking rare that you can spend weeks jumping around continuously. You still won't come across this bad boy. Now, if we jump over to Reddit, there's only a mere whisper of this ship, of one guy that found it in the Hawking system at a low level of 19, for crying out loud. Here I am at a level 100, fingers dripping with blood as I've been jumping around continuously trying to find this ship without any success. So today, I'm going to give you probably what could be your first glimpse into one of the rarest and best ships. We're going to go through where this vessel sits in the overall hierarchy of value, components, and what makes it so awesome, the downsides, all in hope that when you come across it, you grab it and just never tell me about it. I don't want to hear about it in the comments about how many bloody people have got this ship. No, only kidding. If you do find it, definitely let me know in the comments, particularly where you found it. Okay, so let's start off with introducing the Stronghold. Now, the Stronghold is a complete dumpster fire compared to the ship we're going to look at. But it's really important to understand straight off the bat that they look very similar. But if you compare these two ships, the Stronghold is so far down the list in terms of value and its components. They're in completely different categories. So where does the Stronghold fit in terms of value? Well, it sits at the 37th place when you look at just a value perspective. And if you look at some of these components closely, some of them aren't even rank 1. A rank 1 reactor. We have a rank 4 grav drive, which is probably the only highlight to the Stronghold. We've got the Supernova 2000 engine, which is a rank 1 design. We do have one of the best shields in the game though. Another high selling point to the Stronghold. But outside that, we are looking at a very extremely average with rank 1 or no rank weapon systems and very bad mobility. This thing is a tank on ice skates. The overall color scheme isn't that appealing to me, but enough dunking on the Stronghold. Now, I don't know what your experience is, but from everything that I've sort of gathered and read, one of the hardest encounters to come across in Starfield, coming across the Trade Authority vessels while you're just traveling around at random. These encounters seem to be extremely rare, at least in my experience, which leads me to introduce to you, maybe for the first time, the Trader Highlander Mark III. This has to be probably the best vessel that you can find under the Trade Alliance. This is the very ship I've been talking about. It is a dime in a dozen and extremely rare to generate this event in Starfield. Now, some things that are interesting to note. There's probably 2 to 3 different versions of the Highlander, but from what I can see, you can't purchase this from any of the vendors, or I haven't been able to, and I've spent hours trying to bloody get this thing, but maybe other people have had more luck. Definitely let me know in the comments if you found the Highlander at any of the technicians, because apparently you can get it, but I just haven't come across it. But even if you can buy the Highlander, you'll never be able to buy Trader Highlander Mark III. That is a complete random event that you'll find across the Starfield universe, and one that is so extremely rare you probably won't see this ship ever. I've been playing this game for hundreds of hours and I have never come across it. My only fortunate encounter was the Mark II, which I cherish. I may have made a little shrine and I worship it daily in the hope that it will give me the Mark III. But what makes this thing so crazy? Well, let's take a look at where it fits in and all the components. Now, I've been wanting to make this video for a very long time. So in order to do that, the only way I could get it is by using some of the console. So I know, shame, but I wanted to bring this information to you. So just know that I didn't find the Mark III in the wild. I cheated and used console commands, man. But at least I hope you get something out of this. If you do, please consider liking and subscribing. Now, let's look at this beast. So the Highlander Mark III comes in at the 3rd highest valued ship in all of Starfield, 589,000 credits. Which is pretty interesting because when you have a look at the hull, it still ranks very nicely in the 5th position, which means it's an extremely sturdy ship. It's only 2 points off the 2nd best hull, which would put it just under the narwhal. Now we're going to jump straight over to the weapons because the weapons on this are really what makes it such a potent beast of a ship. All the weapons are rank 4 starship design. And we'll start off with the Obliterator 250 MEV Alpha turret. This is an auto turret. It's a particle weapon, means it has superb range and very intense hull damage and shield damage. Obliterator will require Starship Design rank 4. It is also the 2nd most expensive particle weapon you can attach to your ship with a level unlock of 60. We're looking at one of the best particle weapons you can attach to your ship. The only downside is that you can only put 3 of these on your vessel because it does require a power of 4. So you only have 12 bars. So if you wanted to put max power, you can only put 3 of these bad boys on. That's still very good because they are crazy strong. And they pack a punch. You can put this on very hard. You'll still see that health bar go down quite quickly with these. Next up, we have the Reza 10 petahertz pulse laser turret. Not 2, but 3. We have one facing starboard and the other facing port side. And oddly enough, there's one facing the stern, which is facing backwards. That's pretty cool. I personally would flip this forward, but it is a unique positioning of a weapon. The Reza 10 requires Starship Design rank 4. It's probably the 2nd or the best pulse laser turret that you can get in Starfield. Do note it's an auto turret. It's an install and forget. It has a level unlock of 60, and it's the most expensive laser weapon you can get in the game at $35,000 a pop. You can only attach 4 of these bad boys onto your ship, which would give you a combined hull damage of 135 and a combined shield damage of 450, nearly the highest damage combined. So it's not too shabby. We're having one of the best laser turrets that you can get in the game. And the last but definitely not the least, we have the Make 9A Auto Gauss Gun, which is the second most expensive ballistic weapon that you can get in all of Starfield, having the highest level unlock for all ballistic weapons at level 57. Now it does require a power of 4, so you can only attach 3 of these bad boys onto your vessel, which when combined would give you a whopping 444 hull damage and 132 shield damage. And of course, this is a Starship Design rank 4. You can see that all 3 weapons absolutely destroy. They're some of the best weapons you can get in the game. Only downside to the weapons is that there's no missile launcher. Missile launchers do insane hull and shield damage. So if you did throw one of these on, whoa, watch out. But all you'd have to do really is just add 1 or 2 of the same weapons that are on here already. You'll have max stats. So with these legendary weapons out of the way, let's have a look under the hull and see what's powering and working behind this bad boy. Well, the power source of the Highlander Mark III is the S40 Shared Flow Reactor. This is one out of the 2 reactors that provide a power generation of 40. The second most expensive at 81,000 with a level unlock of 57. Pretty much getting the second or third best reactor in the game straight off the bat if you can get this, which means it can really power any modifications you want to make. Now for the grav drive, we've got the SGD 3300 grav drive sitting at about $78,000 to purchase with a level unlock of 51, requiring Starship rank design, of course, which will give you pretty much the maximum jump you can get, which is 30 light years. Now onto the engines. This is where things are a little bit disappointing. So we don't even get the Supernova 2200 engine. We get the model down, which is the 2100. This isn't anything to scream home about. Quite cheap. It's 26,000 per engine with a level unlock of 40 or 46. And it's only a Starship Design rank 3. So it's the only major component that is not Starship Design rank 4. It does provide quite good thrust at 21,000 and not too bad maneuverability thrust at 7,000. Now the good thing is you can attach 4 of these engines, but honestly I would definitely upgrade, get much better maneuverability, because that is probably one of the weakest points about this ship, is that it has absolute terrible maneuverability. As you can see, it has 36 mobility, which means turning this thing around and being agile is like an elephant stuck in space, but that's probably the only downside. Now moving on to the shield. Now we have the Odin 350 C shield generator. This is the 3rd most expensive shield generator with a level unlock of 57. It is Starship Design rank 4 again. Gives you quite a good shield health of 1300 with a 5% regeneration rate, and it's an 11 power shield. So a really nice shield to keep you safe in space. Now the other thing worth noting is that you can have a crew of 6, very nice, easy number. You can increase that quite easily. And all the little hubs and stuff are a mixture of the Hope Tech and Deimos components. And obviously you have a ton of fuel and you've got quite good storage. So it's just overall a really neat package. It's no surprise, it's one of the most expensive ships in all the game. Fortunately, it's just impossible to find. But I won't leave you hanging. Okay, so I can't provide you a method of how to get this ship out in the wild. But what I can do is I can show you how to get this using console commands. I know that's not ideal, but I think it's a little unfair if I show this ship off and then give you no means to get it. So if you don't mind doing console commands, I'll show you one way to get this. Now you can get on top of your ship and we're going to jump up as high as we can. And it's really important that we get as high as we can, because in order to spawn the ship, we need enough room, enough clearance so we can still enter it. I think it still can clip into objects. That shouldn't be a problem, but we just need to make sure that we can actually get into it. And then the command we're going to use is player.placeatme 003A2DF5. I'll put this in the description. You can just copy and paste. And if we're high enough, and hopefully we're high enough, you hit enter. Once we get out of the console, the ship will be spawned. So we've got enough space. It's probably clipped into the back there maybe. But what we need to do is... Hi Sarah. It just spawns there. Once we've used the console command to get it to make it appear, we need to get into the ship. So to do that, we got to head over to the landing entrance and it'll say inaccessible. So to get around that, we need to use the unlock command. But first we need to click. So we click on this door. Now we need to cycle through. We need to cycle through these by clicking and then using the mouse wheel to scroll up or down. We want to find door. We want to use the command unlock. Once we've got all that in place, we hit enter and then we can enter the ship. So we've unlocked, we can go into the ship and then we just need to make our way to the cockpit. And then you will be able to just sit in it normally. Now I've reached the max ship on this account. One sec. Okay, so I've removed the ship. Now I can enter it. and then you can make it your home ship. You can register it. You're looking at roughly 61,000 or let's say 70,000 to register the Highlander. Hit confirm, and then you can just take off from here and bing bada boom. This is how you can get the Highlander 3. But I recommend just, waiting until you come across it and taking it that way. But I just did want to give you this option so you could get this ship just as I did, even though I really just did this just so I could show you and provide some information on probably one of the best ships that you probably won't be able to get. Well, if you got anything out of this or you enjoy this, please consider liking and subscribing. Really enjoy hearing from you in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know if you've come across it at all and whereabouts. Till next time, peace out. Thanks again. Welcome to Where I Find My Ships, and today we are going to be getting the Autobahn III, which is the second most expensive ship in all of Starfield that you can find around the galaxy, and we're going to get it for free. Absolutely free, excluding the registration cost. For those that always bring that up, yes, you will have to pay to register the ship if you want to modify it, but you will get it absolutely free if you just want to fly it around, which is pretty cool because it is the second most expensive ship in the game. And what else is cool about the Autobahn III? So the Autobahn III by value is the second most expensive. And if you sort by damage, it is also the second highest damaging ship in the game. It ranks 12th on the shield. It's got a 30-year jump, which puts it up pretty much with every other ship, the highest sort of jump range you can get. The crew is limited to 4, but that's an easy fix. The reactor at 37 is very reasonable, but definitely more of a mid-range for a C-class when compared to the other Class C ships that you can find in the universe. Autobahn has the 9th highest cargo, and it's got the 12th highest hull health. It's pretty remarkable. It's got terrible fuel, but fuel doesn't really matter too much. You easily just upgrade that. But overall, it's a really neat ship to capture and to sell or to use yourself or to upgrade. So it's another very reasonable option, just like the Voyager 3. But again, the Voyager 3 is in its own category. It's definitely the best to upgrade. I've tested this quite a lot, so I'm quite confident this should work for most people. Do note, you're going to get an Autobahn 1, 2, or 3, depending on your level. But you should be able to replicate this on this moon using the save and load trick. This should be a pretty good outcome for most people. It's not a for sure thing, it's not guaranteed, but at least from my testing and from previous comments on other videos, you should be able to get an Autobahn 1, 2, or 3, depending on your level. On the level side of things, Autobahn 1 or the OG Autobahn is available for everyone at the start, so there's no level requirement. So you should be able to get this pretty soon or pretty early on in the game. Autobahn 2 does not appear at your vendors till level 46. You could be looking at a restriction of being a level 46 and above, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get this at, say, level 30 plus, an Autobahn 2 at least. For Autobahn 3, you may need to be a level, say, 50 plus. Autobahn 3 doesn't appear at vendors until you're level 64, but I'm pretty sure you can still get it at level 30, 40, 50, being quite lucky, and you should most definitely get this after level 64. But those are possible restrictions. Still a bit hearsay. I hear people getting the Autobahn 2 and 3s at lower levels, so it seems like it can happen. It just might be a lot rarer. The drops seem to increase. The Mark 2 and 3 spawning of ships will increase as your level increases. They will become more common the higher level you are. Quickly, what you're going to need now to make this simple, definitely get your pilot rank 4 just so you can take over any Class C ships. You will get you're not authorized to pilot this ship if you don't have the appropriate piloting rank. Make sure you also have security rank 1 so you can hack into the advanced locks that's sometimes required to get into ships that have landed. And since you're going to have to unlock the main hatch, you're going to need a digipick. So bring a couple with you. It's always good to have these on you. Okay, so whereabouts are you going to find the Autobahn 1, 2, or 3? Well, you're going to head to Serpentis, same place where we were finding the Vista II or Vista III for some of you lucky guns. And we're going to head back to good old faithful Serpentis 5D. And we're also going to be targeting the crater regions. These are the areas that we want to focus on. You can try the other mountains or hills. I don't know if it particularly matters, but me, I've just been sticking to craters. So if you get this unexplored route displayed, all you got to do is just travel to the orbit of that system, or just travel to the system. Don't worry about actually selecting a planet, and that will fix that. I don't know why that happens. The other thing to note is that you're going to be able to find the Autobahn on pretty much any of the moons in the Serpentis system. I have had no troubles finding this everywhere in this system, so you have a good chance. You can always jump from moon to moon, see if you get those spawns. I got it straight away as I landed on another moon just after I'd only just spawned another one, so it's super common. The biggest caveat to all of this is if you have Guardians spawning, you're going to have a lot of trouble being able to spawn any Class C ships or any good Class C ships. For me, as soon as I got up to the part of the main story quest where Guardians were spawning, completely mucked up all my ship spawns across the universe. So just note, unfortunately, if you are having issues and you're not getting ships to spawn, it's because you're up to that part of the campaign where Guardians are. Only way I could fix it is by finishing the game and going to a New Game Plus, which has completely fixed it for me. And in New Game Plus, I'm staying the hell away from going into the main campaign where the Guardian ships start to spawn. Okay, so how to set this up. So we'll go to gameplay. All the Autobahns I've been finding, I've been on very hard, but that shouldn't matter. I've done some testing on very easy, and the Autobahn's still quite a frequent ship to see. So the difficulty, don't think it matters too much in this case. But what's important here is that we want to have save on travel on, just so when we land and exit base ship, we will get that auto save. And that's critical to do the save and reload trick effectively. So with the save set, we want to land on Serpentis VD or any other moon in Serpentis. We want to land on a crater. So we'll note that as soon as we exit the ship, we're going to get that auto save. So that's really important to get that auto save. So we'll have a look around. Did we get the noise? We got the noise. Did we get the right ship? No. We got a Space Hyena Mark III. Not a bad ship. You could definitely take that as well. So we'll go back to load the last auto save. We'll load that up and then see if we have any better luck. Did we get any better luck? No, we didn't. We got another ship that we're not interested in. So once again, we'll go back to the autosave. We'll load it up and see if we've got the correct ship. And on the third time, we got the correct ship. We got the Autobahn. Autobahn's very distinct. Got the two engines on one side. And sweet. Okay, so that's perfect. Now that we've been able to spawn the Autobahn III, there's going to be two scenarios to get this. So the first scenario is the easiest, and that's the one you want because that just makes it very, very simple. And that is the scenario when the Autobahn lands and there's, say, 3 NPCs walking around looking for parts or something around about that. But that's perfect because all you need to do in that scenario is walk up to the front hatch, unlock it using your advanced rank 1 security perk, and that digipick, as mentioned earlier, you just stroll right in, walk into the pilot seat, take it. And there's no bounty, nothing, no repercussions, just take off, bing, bada, boom, it's yours. So we won't focus too much on that. We're going to focus on the second scenario, and that's where this tutorial will help because that's the main one that I come across, and it's probably the same for you. Before we get on to scenario 2, a really good tip is just to always save your game or before you get near the ship, just so you can always come back to that point. Now, scenario 2 for the Autobahn 1, 2, or 3 is when it lands, there'll be no crew outside. So if you see that there's no crew outside, that means it's going to be a smuggler's ship, usually a freestyle version. In that scenario, you can walk straight onto the Autobahn. You'll notice that there's crew members around. And what we want to do is we do not want to kill anyone or shoot anyone. We want to go up to the cockpit and talk to the captain. What we're going to do here is we're going to talk to the captain in a way that is going to make the NPCs attack us. Okay, so how did we do that? Well, there's 2 dialogue paths that you can pick. You can initially go, I think you've got me mistaken from someone else the first time. You'll say, get off my ship. And then once you talk to her again, she's basically going to say, are you ready to take the package? And then that's when you say, you've got the wrong person, and that will trigger her to attack you. So the second dialogue path is you talk to the captain, you choose one of the lie options. It doesn't matter, either the lie options are fine. And then when you get the next chance, you say, actually, you've got the wrong person. And again, that will cause her to say they're going to have to kill you. And then all the NPCs will attack you, which means no bounty. So by doing it this way and getting the NPCs to attack you, you won't get any bounty. And what I do to double make sure that I don't get any bounties is every now and then you might get the odd bounty when the NPCs are running away cowering, is I always make sure that the NPCs attack me first and then I'll take them down. That way I never get a bounty. I also stay away from using guns with annihilator rounds just in case. And once you've done that, so you've let the crew attack you, you've killed the whole crew, we'll go up to the pilot seat and we still won't be able to fly the bloody thing. But that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to run outside. We're going to chuck down an outpost, and then we're going to quickly travel to another planet or moon within the same system. And then we're going to travel back to our outpost, jump back onto the Autobahn. And if it's worked, we won't see any bodies on the Autobahn. So the crew we just destroyed, they won't be on the Autobahn anymore. Now, technically, you don't need to drop an outpost. You can just land where you originally land if you're close by to the Autobahn ship. But if you're in a tricky spot, if you can't get back to your ship's landing zone easily, just drop an outpost. This will make it easier. Now, one of the most common problems you're going to find is that you think you've killed all the crew, but the crew members are not all dead. So you're going to return and you're going to see that there's some bodies on the ground. You know now that it has not worked and there's still a crew member around. So somehow this guy evaded me completely, but I was able to take him out. But now I'm very sure that there's no crew members left on this ship at all. So I'm going to fly to another planet or moon within the same system. And then I'm going to travel right back to this location where the ship is, and then I'll have no problems piloting this ship. The other thing that can happen is you've just dropped down your outpost, you've gone to another planet or moon in the same system, you've come back and the bodies are still there. That's fine. All you need to do is just repeat that same process, visit another moon or planet within the same system. You can even go to an outside system and then come right back and head back to the ship, and the bodies will be gone. And the last issue you'll encounter is if you come back to your outpost and the ship looks like this, like it hasn't rendered in properly, you're gonna have a bad time. You probably won't be able to access this ship. You can try reload by going to another planet or moon, coming back. The ship will be in its better full form. It will render correctly, but then the ship becomes inaccessible. You'll go up to the door and it'll say this ship's inaccessible. So there are some scenarios where you won't be able to come back and actually access the ship, and this is the one I found. Otherwise, that covers it. That's how you get the Autobahn 3, 2 or 1 absolutely free. If you do want to register it, you're looking around anywhere between say 60 to say 70,000 credits, but for me it was 66,000 credits to register this ship. Not too bad considering the value of this ship. So thank you very much for watching. If you got anything out of this, please like and subscribe. I'm going to leave you just with a little outro with the different value of the Freestyle Autobahn Mark III with the different commerce perks, just so you can see what the value difference is. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this. Peace. Catch up. The Voyager III is currently the most expensive ship in all of Starfield. You go to any ship database and you sort by value, you will find Voyager III clocked in at a value of over $650,000 if you have no commerce perk. What if I told you you could get the Voyager III for an absolute bargain at a fraction of the cost? Now, in full fairness, it has a different paint job, but it is the identical ship. So you can get the most expensive ship in all of Starfield at this very moment for roughly $150,000. Let's see what you can get for $150,000. Oh, how about that? You can get the Tripzter for $150,000. The Tripzter's very average A-class ship compared to the most expensive Class C ship with some of the best components you can get in the game. Now, what would you prefer? The Voyager III or the Tripzter? So I don't know about you, but I think we've got a sweet deal here in any case. And what makes getting the Voyager III so epic and special is that it's such a good platform to upgrade and build on yourself, that you can then just go mental and reconfigure it and rebuild it how you want, because overall it's going to save you a ton of cash because it's got such good starting components. Now, the interesting and troubling thing, it's going to have a lot of people conflicted about getting this ship, is you're going to have to make a serious moral decision that could have bigger impacts depending on how you're trying to play Starfield. But for most of us, this is going to be a no-brainer, easy, spray and pray. I'm taking your ship and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, this video is a carry-on and very similar to the last video I did. At the time, I didn't even realize that this ship that I was after was the Voyager III. Now I just wanted to remake it and highlighting that you can get the Voyager III at such a discount, just so as many people as possible can find this information out. It's going to be such an awesome, advantageous thing to do in Starfield as soon as you can do it. And we're going to get into where I found it, what it's like boarding it, the bounty cost, the registration cost, and we're going to look at some of the components and everything you need to know so you can try get this ship and just get one of the best overall ships in all of Starfield at a fraction of a cost compared to other ships. So buckle in, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going on a journey. And first things first, so we're not actually hunting the Voyager III. If you have found the Voyager III spawning, please let us know in the comments. However, I've been able to find plenty of Voyager IIs. It seems like a pretty common ship to come across. If you are interested, a good place to find a variety of ships. If you are interested, you can find the Voyager II in the Hawking system. You could try Hawking 4A. The Voyager II obviously isn't as good as the Voyager III. Only place I've been able to find the Voyager III is hunting the Valentine. But before we get into that, what are the perks you need to be able to get this ship? Okay, so the perks you're going to need your piloting rank 4, so you can pilot Class C ships. Final perk you'll need is your targeting control system. You only need at least rank 1, because that way we can target the grav drive and we can target the engine, disable the ship so we can dock with it. And these are the only perks you'll need to be able to get this ship. And the other thing you're going to need is you're going to need at least let's say 75,000 credits, just so you can pay off the bounty, which leads me to the final thing you're going to need. You're going to need a location where you can clear your bounty. Now, I always suggest to build a Tracker Alliance bounty clearance terminal at your home base. And if you haven't done that, then you want to try find any civilian outpost outside regions that are going to pick you up for having a bounty. Now, where to find the Valentine? This ship is a random spawn across the whole galaxy, and this is why it becomes tricky to get, because it can spawn in so many different places, and it also can spawn as a different ship. The last Valentine I found was a Supreme Class B ship, and I found that somewhere else. But the best and most likely place you're going to find this particular one is going to be in the Masada system. So to get to Masada, you're going to need a ship with at least a jump distance of greater than 23 light years. As you can see here, the closest planet is 22.8 light years away. So once you can get to Masada, where are we going to find the Valentine? So for me, I found this version of the Valentine on Masada 5C. Just in the orbit, because we're taking this ship over by force, by piracy, we will be finding this ship only in orbits. But here's the kicker. Because it's a random spawn, technically you could find this version of the Valentine on any of these moons and even some planets. And then technically you could find the Valentine on any other system, I would say like above level 65, for example. That's why this is a bit tricky and it might take some time because it's not a for sure thing. Because I found Valentine on Masada 5C doesn't mean you will, but it's just a good place to start. And at least we know for certain that it does spawn in this system. So it's a good place to start, and you might just have to jump around from Masada 5C to Masada 6A and just jump around until you can find Valentine to spawn. And how will you know it's the Valentine? Well, the Valentine always has that classic guy singing that song. And as soon as you hear that, I would definitely be saving the game. Just in case anything goes wrong, you want to be able to jump back to this point so you can always ensure that you get this ship once you've found it. Now, how do you know if you found the right one? Well, you're looking for a Valentine that is at least level 72. I don't know if it goes any higher. It very might well. And then obviously just getting close to the ship and having a look and making it sure it looks similar to this. Also, keep in mind, I'm level 75. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it spawning, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this when I was a much lower level, so it should be fine. And once you've saved it, you can start to engage the ship. Now, for me, I wanted to get as close as possible. I'd just been in a couple of battles, so my ship wasn't all set up perfectly for this, but it worked out because my auto turrets were on a lower damage. So I got really close, and now I'm going to try target the grav drive and the engines very quickly, just so we can capture the ship as quick as possible without it getting away, because I really wanted to get this ship without having to muck around too much. So we're able to get the lock on. So very quickly able to disable the engine and the grav drive, and then we're just going to dock. Keep in mind, to dock, you just press R when you're close enough to the ship. And once you're docked, now it's time to raid the ship. Now, unfortunately, this is a civilian ship, so we are just going to be stomping on some level 1 crew members. I don't know if there's a diplomatic way to do this. I don't think so, but I think the only way you can do is just by piracy. So yeah, we're just going on a murder spree. And obviously you rack up like 1,500 credits per crew member or something ridiculous like that. So clearing the bounty on this is quite substantial, but the rewards for getting this ship is just unreal. So it's definitely worthwhile in the end. And I'll go through the exact cost of registering and how much the bounties are shortly. They're sort of all scattered. They don't really come to you. They'll kind of cower and hide away. So you'll have to go find them. Once we've all cleared the ship, we can get into the captain's seat and we can finally look at the stats of the ship. Now, keep in mind, if you have too many ships, you can delete your ships. I'm sure you've worked that out now. But if you do need to delete a ship, make sure you do. And then you'll be able to sit in the pilot seat. And here it is, the Valentine. Bring your attention to the value. The value at the bottom is over 500,000, which is an incredible amount. Everything on this ship, all the weapons, engines, reactor, grav drive are all rank 4 ship design required. So it's all the top tier stuff that you can get. It even has a better shield than my current ship. It has one of the best or the best reactor in the game, I think. It's got nearly max grav drive. It's got very reasonable weapons, all only 4 bars from being completely maxed out. The engine's the only place where it lacks a bit, but with an upgrade, that's sorted. So you're looking at one of the best platforms to mod because it's already got such good stats. It's an absolute weapon. Now let's go through the bounty and the registration. Okay, so to register this bad boy, it's almost 70k just for the registration, which sounds like a lot, but when you look under the hood, it is absolutely worth it. But we do also then have to consider what it's going to cost to pay off the bounty. And that's no joke either. So to pay the bounty, because we've had to kill so many innocent people, it's going to cost a lot. So the United Colonies bounty at about 65,000. Then you got to clear your criminal record. So you're at a total loss of about 72,000, which is a lot. So you're roughly looking at like 140,000 to get this ship ready to fly around the galaxy, which sounds like a lot, but again, you're going to save a lot in the end because you save so much on the upgrades. Let's look at some of the components now. Now, looking at this ship's components and modules, we have these excellent weapons that require rank 4 starship design, and they're actually really, really good. No auto turrets, but these weapons are absolute monsters. You can upgrade them and you can just leave them because they're that good. Obviously, we got this amazing shield. It's one of the best shields you can get. Then the engines. The engines are a bit average, but you'll be able to upgrade these with a few changes. Then you've got this insane J52 Gamma Grav Drive. That's one of the best as well. And then the most interesting component, and I'd love to hear from the shipbuilders, is the SF40 Sheared Flow Reactor. Because this has got to be almost one of the best reactors because it gives you 40, which is kind of nuts. Means pretty much all components, like all the major components, are all rank 4 starship design, which is pretty rare to find on a ship that you can just pick up. It's just got all these extra little details. It's just fantastic. What an awesome ship. I really like it. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's wicked, and it's going to be so mad to mod this. And it looks quite easy to mod. Obviously, the only downside is you're going to need starship design for, but still, it's awesome. But yeah, I hope you got something out of this. Please let me know what you think or how you went. Did you get it? Did you find it? Really like hearing from you all and really appreciate your support. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace. Oh, and please consider liking and subscribing. Peace.